A single father barely surviving, a billionaire hiding in plain sight. One rain-soaked morning in a Seattle cafe where a stranger's cry for help forces a broken man to choose. Look away like everyone else or risk everything he's carefully built to protect himself and his daughter. What Ryan Carter doesn't know is that the terrified woman he's about to defend will shatter every wall he's spent years building and force him to answer the one question he's been running from. Can you let someone in when you've already lost everything once? Stay with me until the end, hit that like button, and comment your city so I can see how far this story travels. The rain came down in sheets that Tuesday morning, the kind of Seattle downpour that turned the streets into rivers and made everyone hunch their shoulders against the cold. Ryan Carter stood outside the cafe, his jacket already soaked through, watching the water run off the awning in a steady stream. He should have been inside already. Should have grabbed his coffee 10 minutes ago. Should have been halfway to the construction site by now. But his hand wouldn't reach for the door. Through the rain-streaked window, he could see the usual crowd. The morning regulars with their laptops and their lattes, the business types checking their phones, the retired couple in the corner who'd been coming here longer than he had. Normal people living normal lives. People who probably slept through the night without jerking awake in a cold sweat, reaching for someone who wasn't there anymore. 3 years. 3 years since Sarah died, and he still couldn't walk into a coffee shop without remembering how she used to order. Vanilla latte, extra hot, with that specific smile she'd give the barista, like she was letting them in on a secret. Ryan's phone buzzed, a text from Mrs. Chen, his neighbor who watched Lily before school. She ate her breakfast, asking about the rain boots again. He typed back a quick thanks, pocketed the phone, and finally pushed through the door. The warmth hit him immediately. Coffee and cinnamon and the low hum of conversation. Marcus, the owner, looked up from the espresso machine and gave him a nod. They had an understanding, him and Marcus. No chit-chat. No, how are you doing? Just coffee, black, and a blueberry muffin if they had any left. Usual? Marcus called out. Yeah. Ryan moved to his spot at the counter near the window, the same stool he'd claimed 2 years ago when he'd first started coming here. Routine was everything now. Wake up at 5:30, get Lily ready for school, drop her at Mrs. Chen's, coffee at Murphy's, work site by 7, pick up Lily at 3, dinner, homework, bedtime. Repeat. It was the only way to keep the pieces from falling apart. The cafe door opened behind him, bringing in another gust of wind and rain. Ryan didn't turn around. Didn't need to. The morning parade was always the same, except it wasn't. The sound cut through the ambient noise like a knife, a woman's voice, sharp with fear. I said no, please, just leave me alone. Ryan's shoulders tensed. He stared down at the counter, at the grain in the wood he'd memorized over countless mornings. Not your problem. Not your business. Come on, don't be like that. A man's voice now, aggressive edge underneath the friendly words. I'm just trying to talk to you. I don't want to talk. I want you to leave. The woman's voice was closer now, moving toward the front of the cafe. Ryan could see her reflection in the window. Mid-30s maybe, dark coat, hair pulled back. She was backing away from someone, hands up in a placating gesture that made his stomach turn. Everyone else in the cafe had gone quiet. That careful kind of quiet where people pretend they're not paying attention while they're absolutely paying attention. Heads down, eyes on screens. The collective decision to not get involved. Ryan had made that decision 1,000 times. In grocery stores, on buses, walking past arguments on the street. It was safer that way. Smarter. He had Lily to think about. Couldn't risk getting hurt, getting in trouble, making waves. The man stepped into Ryan's peripheral vision. Tall, expensive suit, the kind of cologne you could smell from 6 feet away. He had his hand on the woman's arm. Not grabbing, not yet, but close enough. Just give me 5 minutes, the man was saying. That's all I'm asking. Get your hand off me. The woman tried to pull away. The man's grip tightened, and Ryan was moving. He didn't think about it, didn't run the calculation of risk versus reward, didn't consider what Sarah would have wanted or what Lily needed or any of the 1,000 reasons to just sit down and mind his own business. His body just moved. Hey, his voice came out rough, harder than he'd intended. She asked you to leave her alone. The man turned and Ryan got his first good look at him. Early 40s, professionally groomed, the kind of face that was used to getting its way. His eyes narrowed as he sized Ryan up, took in the worn work jacket, the construction boots, the 2-day stubble. This doesn't concern you, friend. I'm not your friend. Ryan positioned himself between them, his back to the woman. And yeah, it does. Let go of her arm. For a second, the man looked like he might push it. Ryan could see the calculation happening behind his eyes. Was this worth it? But then the woman wrenched her arm free and stepped back, and something in the man's posture shifted. You're making a mistake, he said, but he was already moving toward the door. You don't know who you're dealing with. The woman's voice came from behind Ryan, cold and steady. Neither do you, Daniel, and my lawyer's going to make sure you remember that. The man, Daniel, stopped at the door, looked back at the woman with something ugly in his expression. This isn't over. Yes, she said quietly. It is. Daniel left, the door slamming behind him hard enough to rattle the frame. The cafe stayed frozen for another few seconds, that awkward pause where nobody knows if the show is really over. Then, gradually, the normal sounds returned. The hiss of the espresso machine, quiet conversations picking back up. Ryan turned around. The woman was staring at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Her coat was expensive, he could tell that much, and she carried herself with the kind of posture that came from private schools and country clubs. But her hands were shaking slightly as she smoothed down her sleeve where Daniel had grabbed her. Thank you, she said. You didn't have to do that. Up close, she was striking in a way that made him uncomfortable. Dark eyes that looked too directly at you. Sharp features softened by something genuine in her expression. The kind of beautiful that belonged in magazines, not in Murphy's coffee at 7 in the morning. You okay? He asked. She nodded, but her hands gave her away. Still trembling, still working through the adrenaline. He was... She stopped, seemed to reconsider whatever she was about to say. He's my ex. Can't seem to accept that we're done. Want me to call someone? The police? No, it's... She took a breath, steadied herself. It's handled, or it will be. My legal team's been dealing with him for months. Legal team. Right. Ryan glanced down at her shoes. Designer, probably cost more than his rent. Of course she had a legal team. Well, he said, already turning back to the counter. Glad you're all right. Wait. He stopped, looked back. She was digging in her purse, pulling out a wallet. At least let me buy your coffee. It's the least I can do. Don't worry about it. Please, I insist. There was something in her voice, not pity exactly, but close enough to make his jaw tighten. He didn't need charity from some rich woman whose ex wore suits that cost more than Ryan's truck. I said don't worry about it. He moved back to his stool, grabbed the coffee Marcus had left there. The woman stood for another moment, looking like she wanted to say something else, then seemed to think better of it. She ordered her own drink and took a table near the back, pulling out her phone. Ryan sipped his coffee and stared out the window at the rain. His hands were steadier than they had any right to be. That scared him more than the confrontation had. How easy it had been to slip into that mode, how natural it had felt to step between them. Sarah used to worry about that part of him, the part that couldn't walk past injustice without doing something about it. She'd called it his hero complex, usually with a smile, sometimes with concern when he came home with bruised knuckles from breaking up a fight outside a bar. You've got Lily now, she'd said once, near the end when the cancer had made her brutally honest about everything. You can't be reckless anymore. Promise me. He'd promised. Had spent 3 years keeping that promise, and today he'd broken it for a stranger. Ryan. He looked up. Marcus was watching him with an expression that was almost paternal. You good, man? Yeah, fine. Marcus didn't look convinced, but he didn't push it. Just refilled Ryan's coffee without being asked and went back to his machine. Ryan checked his phone. 6:45. He needed to leave in 5 minutes if he was going to make it to the site on time. Tommy, his crew boss, was already pissed at him for taking off early last week when Lily's school called about a fever. Couldn't afford to give him another reason. He drained his coffee, left a 5 on the counter, and headed for the door without looking back at the woman in the corner. The rain had slowed to a drizzle. Ryan walked to his truck, a '98 Ford that burned oil and made concerning noises but got him where he needed to go, and sat in the driver's seat for a moment before turning the key. His phone buzzed again. Mrs. Chen. Lily says to tell you she loves you and be safe at work. Something in his chest loosened. Just a fraction. but enough. He texted back a heart emoji, the only one he ever used, and started the truck. Yeah. The next morning, Ryan almost didn't go to Murphy's. He'd laid awake most of the night thinking about the woman, about Daniel, about how easily things could have gone wrong. What if the guy had swung at him? What if he'd had a weapon? What if Ryan had ended up in the hospital, or worse, and Lily had ended up in the system because he couldn't control his impulse to play hero? But routine was routine. And coffee was coffee. So at 6:30, he found himself pushing through the same door, heading for the same stool. She was already there. Same table in the back, same expensive coat, same dark hair pulled into a neat ponytail. She looked up when he walked in, and her face did something complicated. Recognition, uncertainty, something that might have been relief. Ryan ignored her. Ordered his coffee, took his seat. He made it almost 10 minutes before she appeared next to him. Hi. He glanced over. Up close, in better light, he could see the circles under her eyes. She hadn't slept much either. Hi, he said back. I never thanked you properly. Yesterday. You thanked me fine. I tried to buy you coffee and you shut me down. Ryan shrugged. Didn't need it. She was quiet for a moment, studying him in a way that made him want to leave, like she was trying to figure out a puzzle. What's your name? She asked. Ryan. I'm Elena. She held out her hand. Ryan looked at it for a second too long before shaking it. Her grip was firm, professional, the kind of handshake that came from a lot of boardrooms. Nice to meet you, Elena. You come here every morning. Most days? Me too. Well, I do now. Just started coming here last week. Ryan nodded, hoping the conversation was over. It wasn't. Look, Elena said, I know you don't know me, and I know yesterday was weird, but I really would like to buy you coffee sometime. Not because I feel obligated, but because I think you're probably the only person in that entire cafe who would have done what you did. I'm sure that's not true. It is, though. Her voice went quieter. Everyone else looked away. You didn't. Ryan didn't know what to say to that. The truth was, he'd been surprised too. Surprised at himself. It's just coffee, Elena continued. No strings. Just one human being saying thank you to another human being. Is that okay? He should have said no. Should have kept the walls up, kept the distance. But there was something in her eyes, a kind of loneliness he recognized because he saw it in the mirror every morning. Okay, he heard himself say, but I pay for my own. Elena smiled. It changed her whole face, softened all those sharp edges into something warmer. Deal. She went back to her table. Ryan went back to his coffee. And when he left 15 minutes later, he caught her watching him with an expression he couldn't quite name. Call. It became a thing. Not intentionally, not planned. But every morning, there she was. And every morning, after he got his coffee, she'd come over and they'd talk. Just small stuff at first, the weather, the coffee, Marcus's terrible jokes. Safe territory. But by the end of the first week, it had shifted. So what do you do? Elena asked on Friday morning, wrapping her hands around her mug like she was trying to warm them. For work, I mean. Construction, mostly commercial buildings, some residential. You like it? Ryan considered that. It's honest work, pays the bills. That's not the same as liking it. No, he admitted. I guess it's not. She tilted her head, waiting for more. Ryan surprised himself by giving it. I used to want to be an architect. Had a scholarship to University of Washington, whole plan laid out. But life happened. What kind of life? The kind where your dad gets sick and you drop out to take care of him. The kind where by the time he passes, you've got bills and no degree and a resume full of construction jobs. Elena was quiet, her eyes on him with that same intense focus. That must have been hard. It was what it was. Ryan shrugged, uncomfortable with the sympathy in her voice. What about you? What do you do? Something flickered across her face. So quick, he almost missed it. I work in business, corporate stuff. Pretty boring, honestly. Boring corporate stuff that requires a legal team? She laughed, but it sounded forced. Yeah, well, turns out when you try to break up with the wrong person, things get complicated. He's still bothering you? No, my lawyers made it very clear what would happen if he tried. Ryan nodded, sipped his coffee. The conversation lapsed into comfortable silence, and he realized with some surprise that he didn't mind it, didn't feel the need to fill the quiet with meaningless words. Do you have family here? Elena asked after a while. In Seattle? And there it was. The question he'd been dodging all week. A daughter, he said quietly. Lily, she's 8. Elena's expression shifted into something softer. That's a beautiful name. My wife picked it. Past tense. Let her hear it in his voice. I'm sorry. 3 years ago. Cancer. Ryan, It's fine. He cut her off, not unkindly. It was a long time ago. But it wasn't fine, and it wasn't a long time ago. Some mornings he still woke up, expecting to see Sarah next to him. Some nights Lily still cried for her mom. Time didn't heal that kind of wound. It just taught you to live around it. Elena didn't push, just sat with him in that silence again, and somehow that was better than any condolence she could have offered. She's lucky, Elena said finally. Lily, to have you. Ryan thought about the morning scramble, burning toast while trying to find matching socks, forgetting to sign permission slips, showing up to parent-teacher conferences in work clothes because he'd lost track of time at the site. Lucky seemed like a stretch. I'm trying, he said. That's what matters. The second week, Elena brought him a muffin. Ryan stared at it like it might be dangerous. What's this? A muffin. They're really good here. Blueberry's your favorite, right? How did you order it every day? Or you try to, and then Marcus tells you they're out, and you look like you've been personally betrayed by the universe. Despite himself, Ryan smiled. I don't look that pathetic. You absolutely do. Elena pushed the muffin toward him. Take it. I already ate mine. He wanted to refuse, wanted to maintain that distance, that boundary. But the muffin did look good, and he'd skipped breakfast because Lily had taken forever to decide what to wear. Thanks, he said, peeling back the wrapper. They ate in companionable silence for a few minutes. Then Elena said, Tell me about Lily. What do you want to know? Anything, everything. What's she like? Ryan felt that familiar tightening in his chest, the instinct to protect Lily from the world, from strangers, from anyone who might hurt her. But when he looked at Elena, he didn't see a threat, just genuine curiosity. She's smart, he said. Scary smart, actually. Reads at a 6th grade level. Obsessed with space right now. Wants to be an astronaut, or a veterinarian, or a chef. Changes every week. Elena laughed. She sounds amazing. She is. She's... Ryan paused, trying to find the right words. She's everything good I've ever done. Everything that matters. She gets that from you, you know. The good stuff. You don't know me well enough to say that. Maybe not. But I've watched you for 2 weeks now. The way you hold doors for people. The way you always leave extra tip for Marcus. The way you helped that kid pick up his books when he dropped them yesterday. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. You're paying too much attention. Maybe. Or maybe you're just a good person who doesn't realize it. He didn't know what to do with that, so he changed the subject. What about you? Any kids? Elena's expression closed off slightly. No kids. Was never the right time, never the right person. She paused. Daniel wanted them. Or he said he did, but I think he just wanted the idea of them. The perfect family for the Christmas card. You dodged a bullet there. Yeah. She traced the rim of her mug with one finger. Took me too long to see it, though. 2 years of my life I'm not getting back. At least you got out. At least. Elena looked up at him, something vulnerable in her expression. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you ever get lonely, doing it all alone? The question hit harder than it should have. Ryan took a long sip of coffee before answering. Every day, he said quietly. Every single day. Yeah, Elena whispered. Me too. And there it was. The real thing they'd been dancing around for 2 weeks. 2 lonely people finding each other in the space between coffee orders and morning rain. It should have scared him, should have sent him running. Instead, he stayed. Week 3, Elena asked about his day. Not in the polite, distant way strangers do, but like she actually wanted to know. Like the details mattered. So Ryan told her. About Tommy riding his ass over nothing. About the foundation that wouldn't set right because some idiot had mixed the concrete wrong. About the client who kept changing her mind about window placements. Elena listened, asked questions. Made him laugh when she suggested he tell the client that windows were structurally optional. And then, when it felt natural, he asked about her day. She told him about meetings, difficult negotiations, a project that was falling behind schedule. She kept it vague, no specific companies, no names, but Ryan got the sense she was under a lot of pressure. The kind that came from the top of the ladder, not the bottom. "Sounds stressful," he said. "It is, but it's what I signed up for." "You like it?" Elena thought about that. "Sometimes. When I can actually make a difference, change something for the better. Other times it feels like I'm just going through the motions, checking boxes, being who everyone expects me to be." Ryan understood that more than she probably knew. "Must be hard, being in charge of everything." She gave him a sharp look. "What makes you think I'm in charge?" "The way you talk, the way you carry yourself. You're not someone who takes orders." Elena smiled, but it looked sad. "No, I guess I'm not." They sat with that for a while. The cafe filled up around them, the morning rush, people grabbing drinks on their way to offices and meetings, but Ryan barely noticed. He was caught in Elena's orbit, in this strange pocket of honesty they'd somehow created. "Do you ever think about what your life would look like if you could start over?" Elena asked suddenly. "Just wipe the slate clean and begin again?" "I used to. Right after Sarah died, I thought about it constantly. Moving somewhere new, different job, different everything." "What stopped you?" "Lily. She'd already lost her mom. Couldn't take away her home, her school, her friends. Had to give her something stable." Elena nodded slowly. "You're a good father, Ryan." "I'm a tired father. There's a difference." "No," she said firmly. "There's not. Being there, even when you're exhausted, even when it's hard, that's what makes you good." Ryan looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something in her eyes that made his breath catch. Understanding, recognition, like she saw past all his defenses straight to the truth underneath. It terrified him. "I should get going," he said, standing up too quickly. Coffee sloshed over the rim of his mug. "Ryan, work. Can't be late again." Elena stood too. "Did I say something wrong?" No, it's just..." He couldn't explain it. Couldn't tell her that she was getting too close, seeing too much, that he wasn't ready for this, whatever this was becoming. "See you tomorrow?" she asked quietly. He should have said no, should have broken the routine, stopped coming to Murphy's, gone back to his safe, lonely existence. "Yeah," he said instead. "Tomorrow." But the next day, Lily got sick. Nothing serious, just a fever and a cough, but enough that Mrs. Chen couldn't watch her, which meant Ryan had to call in sick to work, which meant Tommy chewing him out over the phone, which meant another mark against him that he couldn't afford. He spent the day on the couch with Lily curled against him, watching nature documentaries and feeding her soup. She fell asleep around noon, her small body heavy against his side, and Ryan found himself thinking about the cafe, about Elena sitting there, waiting, wondering where he was. He pulled out his phone, typed out a message, then deleted it. They didn't have each other's numbers, didn't have any contact outside those morning meetings. It had been safer that way. Easier. Now it just felt stupid. Lily stirred, coughed, settled back against him. Her forehead was warm but not burning. He brushed her hair back the way Sarah used to and felt that familiar ache in his chest. "Daddy?" Lily's voice was rough from sleep. "Yeah, sweetie?" "Are you sad?" The question caught him off guard. "What? No, I'm not sad. Why would you think that?" "You have your sad face on." Ryan tried to smile. "I'm just worried about you. Want to make sure you feel better." "I'm okay." She snuggled closer. "Mrs. Chen says you worry too much." "Mrs. Chen talks too much." Lily giggled, which turned into another cough. Ryan rubbed her back until it subsided. "Daddy?" "Yeah?" "Do you miss Mommy?" The ache became a sharp pain. "Every day, baby. Every single day." "Me too." Lily was quiet for a moment. "But I don't remember her as much anymore. Is that bad?" Ryan pulled her closer, fighting the burn in his throat. "No, sweetheart. That's not bad. That's just life." "Do you think Mommy's mad at me for forgetting?" "No." His voice came out rough. "No, baby. Mommy would never be mad at you. She loved you more than anything in the world. More than you? Just as much as me. We both love you to the moon and back. Lily seemed satisfied with that. She closed her eyes again, her breathing evening out into sleep. Ryan sat there holding her, watching the rain streak down the windows, and thought about Elena. Thought about how easy it had been to talk to her, how she'd made him laugh for the first time in months, how she'd looked at him like he was worth seeing. And then he thought about Sarah, about the promises he'd made, about the life they'd planned that would never happen. He was so tired of being alone, so tired of carrying everything by himself. But letting someone in meant risking it all over again. The loss, the pain, the absolute devastation of watching someone you love slip away. Was he strong enough to risk that? For himself? For Lily? He didn't know. 2 days later, Ryan walked back into Murphy's. Elena was there. Same table, same seat, but something was different. She looked up when he came in, and the relief on her face was so obvious it made his stomach flip. He got his coffee, walked over to her table, sat down without asking. "Hi," he said. "Hi." Elena's hands were wrapped tight around her mug. "I was starting to think you weren't coming back." Lily was sick, had to stay home. "Is she okay?" "Yeah, just a cold. She's back at school today." Elena nodded, but she still looked uncertain, like she was waiting for the other shoe to drop. Ryan took a breath. "Look, I'm sorry about the other day. The way I left." "You don't have to apologize." "Yeah, I do. You were just being nice, and I bailed." "It's okay, really." Elena met his eyes. "I get it. This whole thing is complicated." "What whole thing?" She gestured between them. "This. Whatever we're doing. Talking every morning like we're friends when we barely know each other." "Aren't we? Friends?" Elena looked at him for a long moment. "I don't know, Ryan. Are we?" He thought about it. Thought about the conversations they'd shared, the honesty, the way she made him feel less alone. Thought about how much he'd missed her the past 2 days. "Yeah," he said. "I think we are." Something in Elena's expression softened. "Good. I'm glad." They sat in silence for a bit, comfortable again. Then Elena said, "Can I ask you something? And you can say no if it's too much." "Okay. Would you want to get dinner sometime? Actual dinner, not just coffee. There's this Italian place in Capitol Hill that's supposed to be amazing." Ryan's first instinct was to say no, to keep the boundaries where they were. But Lily's question from the other day echoed in his head. "Are you sad?" Yeah, he was sad. Had been sad for 3 years. Maybe it was time to try something different. "I'd need to find a babysitter," he said. Elena's face lit up. "Is that a yes?" "It's a, let me figure out the logistics and I'll let you know." "I'll take it." She pulled out her phone. "Here, give me your number. That way you can actually text me instead of just disappearing for 2 days and giving me a heart attack." Ryan rattled off his number, watched her save it. When his phone buzzed a second later with her text, "It's Elena," something in his chest loosened. "There," she said. "Now we're real friends, with phone numbers and everything. Don't get too excited. I'm a terrible texter. I'll take what I can get." They talked for another 20 minutes before Ryan had to leave for work. As he stood to go, Elena caught his hand. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For coming back." Ryan squeezed her hand once, then let go. "See you tomorrow, Elena." "See you tomorrow." He walked out into the rain, and for the first time in a long time, he was almost smiling. Finding a babysitter turned out to be harder than Ryan expected. Mrs. Chen had her book club on Friday nights. His coworker Dave's wife was out of town. The teenager down the hall who sometimes watched Lily had exams. Ryan sat at his kitchen table Thursday evening, phone in hand, running out of options and feeling ridiculous for even trying. "Who are you texting?" Lily asked from the living room, where she was supposed to be doing homework but was actually building an elaborate fort out of couch cushions. "Nobody. Just work stuff." "You're making your confused face." "I don't have a confused face." Lily appeared in the doorway, hands on her hips in a pose that was pure Sarah. "Yes, you do. Your eyebrows get all scrunchy." Ryan rubbed his forehead. "Homework, Lily." "Already done. Can I watch TV?" "What about math? I saw that worksheet in your folder." "That's for tomorrow." "Do it anyway." Lily groaned dramatically but disappeared back into the living room. Ryan heard the rustle of papers, then silence. He looked down at his phone, at Elena's last message from that afternoon. Any luck with the babysitter situation? He'd been staring at it for 20 minutes, trying to decide how to respond. The truth was, he could probably ask Mrs. Chen to skip her book club. She'd do it if he asked. But that felt wrong somehow, imposing on her kindness when she already did so much. His phone buzzed with a new message. If it's too complicated, we can just do coffee again. No pressure. Ryan typed back quickly. No, I want to. Just figuring it out. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. What if I came to you? He stared at the message. What do you mean? I could bring dinner. We could eat at your place. That way you don't need a sitter. Ryan's first reaction was panic. His apartment wasn't a disaster, but it wasn't exactly company-ready either. Lily's toys were scattered everywhere. The couch had a permanent impression from where he collapsed every night. The whole place screamed single dad barely holding it together. You don't want to do that, he typed. Why not? Because my apartment is chaos and Lily will ask you a million questions and you'll regret it within 5 minutes. The dots appeared again. I like chaos, and I like questions. How's tomorrow night? Ryan looked around his apartment with fresh eyes. The stack of mail on the counter he'd been meaning to sort through. The dishes in the sink from breakfast. Lily's art projects covering the fridge like wallpaper. Daddy? Lily called from the living room. How do you spell Jupiter? Sound it out. I am. But is it Jupiter or Jupider? The first one. He heard her pencil scratching against paper. His phone was still in his hand, Elena's message waiting. Okay, he typed. But don't say I didn't warn you. What time? 6? After I pick up Lily from school. Perfect. I'll bring everything. You just provide the chaos. Ryan smiled despite himself. That I can do. He spent the rest of the evening cleaning. Not obsessively, just enough to make the place presentable. Lily watched him with growing suspicion as he actually used the vacuum for once. Why are you cleaning? She asked. Because the apartment's a mess. It's always a mess. You never care. Well, I care now. Lily followed him into the kitchen, where he was attacking the dishes with unusual vigor. Is someone coming over? A friend, for dinner. Her eyes went wide. A friend? What friend? Just someone I know from the coffee shop. Is it a girl? Ryan nearly dropped the plate he was washing. What? Why would you ask that? Because you're being weird, and you only get weird about girl stuff. I don't get weird about girl stuff. Yes, you do. Remember when Mrs. Patterson from school asked if you wanted to get coffee and you said you had to wash your hair? I said I had to wash my truck. Same thing. You were being weird. Lily hopped up onto the counter, legs swinging. So is she nice? Your friend? Ryan sighed, recognizing defeat. Yeah, she's nice. What's her name? Elena. That's pretty. Is she pretty? Lily. What? I'm just asking. She paused. Does she know about Mom? The question hit him in the chest. Ryan set down the dish, dried his hands on a towel. Yeah, sweetie, she knows. And she still wants to come over? Why wouldn't she? Lily shrugged, suddenly very interested in her shoelaces. I don't know, sometimes people get weird when I tell them about Mom. Like they don't know what to say. Ryan lifted her down from the counter, crouched so they were eye level. Elena's not like that. And anyway, she's coming over as a friend, just dinner. Nothing weird, okay? Okay? Lily wrapped her arms around his neck in a quick hug. But if she's mean to you, I'm going to tell her to leave. Deal. That night, after Lily was asleep, Ryan stood in his bedroom and stared at his closet like it held the secrets of the universe. Everything he owned was either work clothes or clothes he wore around the apartment. Nothing in between. Nothing that said casual dinner with a friend who makes your stomach flip every time she smiles. He settled on jeans and a button-down he usually saved for parent-teacher conferences. Good enough, probably. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. Another message from Elena. Any food allergies I should know about? For you or Lily? No allergies, but Lily's picky, doesn't like anything green. Challenge accepted. Ryan fell asleep that night thinking about Elena in his apartment, in his space, meeting Lily. It should have terrified him. Instead, it felt almost right, like a piece sliding into place. The next day dragged. Every minute at the worksite felt like an hour. Tommy caught him checking his phone twice and made some comment about having somewhere better to be, which wasn't wrong. By the time 3 o'clock rolled around and Ryan could leave to pick up Lily, he was wound tight with nerves. Lily came running out of school with her backpack bouncing, pigtails flying. She'd insisted on wearing her favorite dress that morning, the purple one with stars that was getting too small, but she refused to give up. "Is Elena coming tonight?" she asked before she'd even buckled her seatbelt. "How do you remember her name? I mentioned her once." "I remember everything. Is she?" "Yeah, around 6. What's she bringing for dinner?" "I don't know. It's a surprise." Lily bounced in her seat. "I like surprises. Except for bad surprises, like when you made that casserole and it was all mushy." "That casserole was fine." "It was gross, and you know it." Ryan couldn't argue. It had been pretty gross. They got home at 3:30. Ryan tried to act normal, but Lily kept catching him straightening cushions and checking the time. "You're being weird again," she announced. "I'm not being weird. You've looked at the clock like 50 times. "I have not." 51 now. At 5:45, Ryan was ready to call the whole thing off. This was a mistake. What was he thinking, inviting someone into their space? Into the life he'd built so carefully around just him and Lily? Then the doorbell rang and his heart jumped into his throat. Lily beat him to the door, flinging it open with zero sense of stranger danger. "Hi, are you Elena?" Elena stood in the hallway holding 2 grocery bags, her hair down for once, wearing jeans and a simple sweater that probably cost more than Ryan's entire wardrobe. She looked younger somehow, less polished, more real. "I am," she said, smiling at Lily. "And you must be Lily. Daddy said you're bringing dinner." "I am. Hope you like pasta." "I love pasta." Lily grabbed one of the bags. Come in. Daddy's been weird all day." "Lily," Ryan warned, but Elena was already laughing as she stepped inside. "Weird how?" she asked conspiratorially. "Just weird. Looking at the clock and cleaning stuff." "Fascinating." Elena caught Ryan's eye over Lily's head, her smile warm and slightly amused. "Hi, Ryan." "Hi." He took the other bag from her. "Sorry about the interrogation." "Don't be. I like her already." Lily beamed. "See, Daddy? She likes me." The next hour was chaos in the best way. Elena took over the kitchen with the ease of someone who actually knew what they were doing, unlike Ryan's usual method of following box instructions and hoping for the best. She'd brought everything for homemade pasta with marinara sauce, garlic bread, and a salad that she promised Lily wouldn't taste green. Lily appointed herself as sous chef, standing on a step stool and asking Elena a million questions about everything from how to chop garlic to whether she'd ever seen a shooting star. Ryan stayed out of the way, ostensibly setting the table but really just watching Elena show Lily how to tear basil leaves, watching them laugh over something stupid, watching his daughter, his quiet, sometimes withdrawn daughter, come alive in a way she hadn't since Sarah died. It hurt. But it was a good hurt. "Ryan," Elena called, "can you grab the colander from that bag?" He found it, handed it over. Their fingers brushed and Elena's eyes met his, something soft in her expression. "Thank you for letting me do this," she said quietly. "Thank you for wanting to." Dinner was loud and messy and perfect. Lily talked nonstop about school and her friends and the solar system project she was working on. Elena listened like every word mattered, asked questions, shared stories from when she was 8. "Did you really put your teacher's stapler in Jell-O?" Lily asked, eyes wide. "I really did. Got detention for a week." "Daddy would never let me do that." "Daddy's smart," Elena said. "I was a troublemaker." "Were you friends with a lot of people?" Elena's expression shifted slightly. "Not really. I was pretty lonely, actually." "Me too sometimes," Lily said quietly. "The other kids don't really get it. About my mom." Ryan's hand tightened on his fork. He started to redirect the conversation, but Elena spoke first. "That must be really hard," she said. "Feeling like you're different." "Do you ever feel different?" "All the time." Lily seemed to consider this. "But you're a grown-up. Grown-ups have it easier." Elena laughed, but it sounded sad. "Not always, sweetheart. Sometimes being a grown-up just means you're better at hiding when things are hard." Is that what you do? Hide? Lily, Ryan interjected. That's kind of personal. It's okay. Elena looked at Lily with something raw in her expression. Yeah, I hide a lot, but your dad's teaching me that maybe I don't have to. Lily turned to Ryan. You're teaching her? Apparently. But you don't know anything about teaching. Thanks, kid. Elena laughed and the heaviness broke. They finished dinner and Lily insisted on showing Elena her room, which meant a full tour of every stuffed animal and their individual backstories. Ryan followed them, watching Elena sit cross-legged on the floor while Lily explained that Mr. Whiskers the bear was actually a retired astronaut. He went to the moon 3 times, Lily said seriously. That's very impressive, Elena replied, equally serious. And this is Luna. She's a rabbit, but she thinks she's a dog. Classic identity crisis. Ryan leaned against the doorframe, chest tight with something he didn't want to name. This was dangerous. This feeling of rightness. This glimpse of what life could look like with someone else in it. Okay, Lil, he said eventually. It's almost bedtime. But Elena just got here. Elena's been here for 2 hours. That's not long enough. Elena stood, brushed off her jeans. I should probably get going anyway. It's a school night. Lily's face fell. Do you have to? I do. But maybe I can come back sometime, if your dad says it's okay. Lily whipped around to Ryan. Can she? Please? Ryan looked at Elena, saw the hope in her eyes that matched his daughter's. Yeah, he said. She can come back. Lily threw her arms around Elena in a hug that clearly surprised them both. Elena froze for a second, then wrapped her arms around Lily and squeezed. Thank you for having me, Elena said softly. Thank you for the pasta. It was way better than Daddy's cooking. I heard that, Ryan called. Elena helped Lily get ready for bed while Ryan cleaned up the kitchen. He could hear them talking in the bathroom, Lily's voice high and excited, Elena's lower and warm. When he came back, Elena was sitting on the edge of Lily's bed, listening to some elaborate story about a field trip to the aquarium. And then the sea otter did a flip and everyone screamed, Lily was saying. That sounds amazing. I love sea otters. Me too. They're so cute and fluffy. Ryan knocked on the doorframe. Time for sleep, kiddo. Lily groaned but slid under her covers. Ryan came over, kissed her forehead. Good night, baby. Night, Daddy. She looked at Elena. Will you come to my school's science fair next month? Elena glanced at Ryan, uncertainty in her eyes. If your dad says it's okay, and if I'm invited, I'd love to. You're invited. It's on a Friday. We're doing presentations about space. Then I'll be there. Ryan ushered Elena out, turned off the light except for Lily's constellation nightlight. In the hallway, he finally let himself breathe. I'm sorry if she was too much, he said. She wasn't. She's incredible, Ryan. She doesn't usually warm up to people that fast. Maybe she needed someone to warm up to. They stood there in the narrow hallway, too close and not close enough. Ryan could smell Elena's perfume, something subtle and expensive. Could see the pulse beating in her throat. Thank you, he said, for tonight, for all of it. Thank you for letting me in. She reached out, squeezed his hand. Ryan squeezed back, his thumb brushing across her knuckles. Neither of them moved to let go. I should really get going, Elena whispered. Yeah, but she didn't move. Neither did he. Ryan? Yeah? I really like your daughter. She really likes you too. And Elena paused, bit her lip. I really like you. Ryan's heart was pounding so hard he was sure she could hear it. I really like you too. So what do we do about that? I don't know. It was the truth. He had no idea what came next. How to date someone when you had an 8-year-old. How to let someone into your life without risking everything you'd worked so hard to protect. But Elena was looking at him like he was worth the risk, like they both were. We could figure it out together, she said quietly. If you want. I want to. I'm just scared. Me too. Of what? Elena's smile was sad. Of screwing this up. Of you finding out who I really am and deciding I'm not worth it. Who you really are. She pulled her hand back, wrapped her arms around herself. There are things about my life I haven't told you. Things that might change how you see me. Like what? Can we save that conversation for another night? when I'm feeling braver? Ryan wanted to push, wanted to know what she was hiding, but he understood the need for walls, for protecting the soft parts of yourself. Okay, he said. Another night. They walked to the door together. Elena grabbed her coat from the hook, shrugged it on. Same time tomorrow? She asked. At Murphy's? I'll be there. Good. She reached up, touched his cheek briefly. Good night, Ryan. Good night. She left, and Ryan stood in his doorway watching her disappear down the hall. When he finally closed the door and turned around, Lily was standing in the hallway in her pajamas. I thought you were asleep, he said. I was thinking. About what? I think you should marry her. Ryan choked on air. What? Lily, we're just friends. That's not what friends look like. How would you know what friends look like? I see stuff, Daddy. I'm not a baby. Ryan rubbed his face. It's complicated, sweetheart. Why? Because everything's complicated when you're a grown-up. Lily walked over, took his hand. Mom would want you to be happy, you know. The words hit him like a punch. Lily. She told me before she got really sick. She said if something happened to her, she wanted you and me to still have good things, to still be happy. Ryan's throat was too tight to speak. He pulled Lily into a hug, held her while she wrapped her skinny arms around his waist. I miss her, Lily whispered. I know, baby. Me too. But I like Elena. Me too. So you should keep her. Ryan laughed despite the tears burning his eyes. It doesn't work like that. Why not? Because people aren't things you keep. They're people you choose, and they have to choose you back. I think she chooses you. Maybe. I know she does. I saw how she looks at you. Ryan pulled back, looked down at his daughter. When had she gotten so perceptive? So wise? Back to bed, he said gently. For real, this time. Okay. But Daddy? Yeah? Don't mess this up. I'll try my best. He tucked her in again, stayed until her breathing evened out. Then he went to his own room, sat on the edge of his bed, and pulled out his phone. Thank you for tonight, he typed to Elena. Lily hasn't stopped talking about you. The response came fast. Thank you for trusting me with her, with both of you. Are you home? Just got in. Why? Just wanted to make sure you got back safe. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. That's sweet. Nobody usually worries about me. Well, somebody does now. I could get used to that. Good. Ryan set his phone down, lay back on his bed. The apartment felt different now. Warmer somehow. Like Elena had left something behind, not physically, but an imprint, a possibility. His phone buzzed again. Can I ask you something? Sure, he typed back. Why did you really say yes to dinner? I mean, you could have kept saying no. Could have kept me at a distance. Ryan stared at the message for a long time before answering. Because Lily asked me if I was sad, he wrote. And I realized I've been sad for 3 years. And then you walked into Murphy's and I felt something other than sad for the first time since Sarah died. Scared the hell out of me. Does it still scare you? Terrifies me. But I'm tired of being scared. Tired of being alone. Tired of just going through the motions. The dots appeared and stayed for a long time. When Elena's message finally came through, it was just 4 words. Me too, Ryan. Me too. They texted for another hour. Nothing deep, just back and forth about small things. Lily's questions, the pasta recipe, the terrible show Ryan was watching. Normal stuff, easy stuff. It felt like breathing. Over the next 2 weeks, it became routine. Elena at Murphy's every morning, sometimes joining Ryan at the counter, sometimes sitting at her table while he grabbed coffee to go. Dinners twice a week at Ryan's apartment, always with Lily present. Movies on the couch with his daughter between them. A careful distance maintained. They were building something. Slowly, carefully. But Ryan could feel the foundation taking shape. Then came the science fair. Ryan had almost forgotten about it. Had assumed Lily's invitation to Elena was just kid talk, not a real expectation. But when Friday rolled around and they were walking to the school gym, Lily kept scanning the crowd. Is she coming? She asked for the 10th time. I don't know, sweetie. She's probably busy with work. But she said she'd come. Sometimes things come up. Lily's face fell. and Ryan felt a spike of anger at Elena for making promises she might not keep. He should have warned her, should have explained that Lily took everything seriously, that disappointment hit her harder than other kids. They found Lily's display, a poster board covered in facts about Mars, complete with a papier-mâché model she'd spent weeks perfecting. Other families crowded around other projects, cameras out, everyone trying to look interested. Ryan hated these things. Hated the forced small talk with other parents, the feeling of being the only single dad in a sea of couples. But he smiled and took pictures and told Lily her project was the best one there. "Mr. Carter?" He turned. Elena was walking toward them through the crowd, and she looked different. Not dressed down like at the apartment. This was business Elena, sharp blazer, heels, hair pulled back. She looked powerful, intimidating. She looked like she belonged in a different world than this elementary school gym. "You came," Lily squealed, throwing her arms around Elena's waist. "Of course I came. I promised, didn't I?" Elena hugged her back, then looked up at Ryan. "Sorry I'm late. Meeting ran over." "You didn't have to come," Ryan said, aware of how stiff he sounded. Something flickered in Elena's eyes. "I wanted to. I want to see Lily's project." Lily grabbed her hand, dragged her over to the Mars display. Elena listened intently as Lily explained everything, asked smart questions, seemed genuinely fascinated by the papier-mâché moons. Ryan watched them, that same uncomfortable feeling growing in his chest. Elena fit here and didn't fit here. She was present, but also separate, like she was playing a role. "That's Elena?" a voice said beside him. Ryan turned. Karen Martinez, another parent he vaguely knew. Her son was in Lily's class. "Yeah," he said. Karen's eyebrows had climbed into her hairline. "Do you know who she is?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, that's Elena Vaughn, as in Vaughn Industries, as in one of the richest women in Seattle." Ryan's stomach dropped. "What? Oh my God, you didn't know." Karen looked delighted by this drama. "She's like billionaire level. Owns half the tech companies in the city. She was on the cover of Forbes last month." The gym tilted sideways. Ryan stared at Elena, at this woman he'd been having coffee with every morning, who'd cooked pasta in his kitchen, who'd sat on his worn-out couch and watched cartoons with his daughter. Billionaire. Elena was a billionaire, and she'd never told him. "Ryan?" Karen was still talking. "Are you guys, like, together or something? Because if you landed Elena Vaughn, you're basically living every guy's fantasy." "We're just friends," he said automatically. "Right." Karen's tone said she didn't believe him for a second. "Well, good luck with that. She's way out of your league, but hey, dream big." She walked away, leaving Ryan standing there with his world cracking apart. All those conversations, all those mornings. Elena had sat across from him, listening to him talk about his struggles, his bills, his life barely holding together. And the whole time she'd been what, slumming it? Getting her kicks watching the poor single dad struggle? He looked at her again. She was laughing at something Lily said, her hand on his daughter's shoulder. She looked so normal, so real, but it was all a lie. "Daddy," Lily called. "Elena wants to see the other projects. Can we walk around?" "Actually," Ryan said, his voice coming out harder than he intended, "I need to talk to Elena for a second. Lily, why don't you show Mrs. Anderson your project?" Lily's face scrunched in confusion, but she nodded, heading toward her teacher. Elena walked over, smile fading as she saw Ryan's expression. "What's wrong?" she asked. "How long were you planning to keep lying to me?" "What?" "Vaughn Industries. Forbes covers. Billionaire CEO." Each word came out like a weapon. "When exactly were you going to mention that?" Elena's face went pale. "Ryan, all this time, all these conversations about my life falling apart, about struggling to pay bills, about working construction, and you just sat there and listened like we were equals, like we had anything in common." "We do have things in common." "Really? Because I'm pretty sure billionaires don't understand what it's like to choose between fixing your truck and buying groceries. That's not fair." "What's not fair is you lying to me for weeks, making me think you were just some normal woman when you're—" He gestured at her outfit, at everything she represented. "This." People were starting to stare. Elena noticed, grabbed his arm. "Can we please talk about this somewhere private?" Ryan shook her off. I don't think we have anything to talk about. Ryan, please, just let me explain. Explain what? How you thought it would be fun to see how the other half lives? How you got to play normal for a few weeks before going back to your mansion? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Elena? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you used me. Used Lily. For what? Entertainment? Elena's eyes were bright with tears now. I never used you. I care about you, about both of you. You don't even know us. Not really. You know the version of us that exists in your little experiment, but that's not real life. Real life is messy and hard, and we don't get to check out when things get uncomfortable because we have actual responsibilities. I have responsibilities. Running your empire? Yeah, I'm sure that's real tough. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. Maybe for the first time since we met. Ryan stepped back, putting distance between them. I think you should go. Ryan, please, just go. Elena stood there for another moment, tears streaming down her face now. Then she turned and walked away, her heels clicking on the gymnasium floor. Everyone was definitely staring now, whispers rippling through the crowd. Ryan didn't care. He was shaking with anger and hurt, and something else he didn't want to name. Daddy? Lily was standing next to him, her face crumpled with confusion. Why did Elena leave? Why were you yelling at her? We just had a disagreement, sweetie. But she was crying. You made her cry. It's complicated. Is she coming back? Ryan looked at his daughter, at the hope and fear warring in her expression. He'd done this. He'd let Elena in, let Lily get attached, and now he was going to have to explain why she wasn't coming back. I don't think so, baby. But why? What happened? She lied to us about who she is. So, people make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. This was... Ryan didn't know how to explain it, how to put into words the betrayal he felt. She's not who we thought she was. But I liked who we thought she was. I know, I did too. Lily's face did something terrible then, crumpled completely, tears spilling over. I don't understand. Everything was good. Everything was finally good again. Ryan pulled her into a hug, felt her shake with sobs against his chest. Around them, the science fair continued, but he couldn't focus on any of it. Could only hold his daughter while she cried for something he'd let her believe in. Something he'd believed in, too. They left early. Lily didn't want to see the other projects anymore, didn't want to talk to anyone. Ryan drove home in silence, his mind spinning. He'd overreacted. He knew that even as the words were coming out of his mouth, but the hurt had been so sharp, so immediate, that he'd lashed out without thinking. Elena should have told him, should have been honest from the start, but maybe he hadn't given her the space to be honest. Maybe he'd been so wrapped up in his own problems that he'd never asked the right questions. His phone was buzzing in his pocket, text after text. He waited until they got home, until Lily was in her room, before checking. All from Elena. I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner. I was scared you'd look at me differently. I was scared of exactly what happened tonight. You were right. I should have been honest. But I need you to know everything between us was real. My feelings are real. Please call me. Please let me explain. Ryan stared at the messages. Part of him wanted to call her. Wanted to hear her voice, hear her explanation. But the other part, the part that had been burned before, that had lost everything once already, told him to walk away, to protect himself and Lily from more hurt. He turned off his phone and went to check on his daughter. Lily wouldn't eat breakfast the next morning. She sat at the kitchen table in her pajamas, staring at the bowl of cereal Ryan had poured, her face a mask of stubborn misery. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She'd cried herself to sleep, and Ryan had heard her wake up twice during the night. Come on, Lil. Just a few bites. I'm not hungry. You have to eat something. Why? Because that's what we do. We eat breakfast. Lily pushed the bowl away. Everything's different now anyway. So why does it matter? Ryan rubbed his eyes. He'd gotten maybe 3 hours of sleep, lying awake replaying the scene at the science fair. The look on Elena's face, the way his words had landed like punches, the whispers that followed them out. Nothing's different, he lied. Yes, it is. Elena's gone and you're sad and I'm sad and everything's ruined. It's not ruined. Then why can't she come back? Ryan sat down across from her, trying to find words that would make sense to an 8-year-old. Hell, trying to find words that made sense to himself. Sometimes people aren't who we think they are, he started. But she was nice to us. She made pasta. She came to my science fair. I know. So why does it matter if she has money? You always tell me money doesn't make people good or bad. The words hit him in the chest, his own lesson thrown back at him. He'd said that exact thing to Lily last year when she'd complained that some kid at school had nicer toys. It's more complicated than that. Why? Because you're a grown-up and grown-ups make everything complicated? Lily, I don't understand. Her voice cracked. I don't understand why you're being mean to someone who was nice to us. I don't understand why you yelled at her. I don't understand why everything has to be awful all the time. She started crying again, those gut-wrenching sobs that made Ryan feel like the worst father in the world. He came around the table, tried to pull her into a hug, but she pushed him away. I want Mom, she choked out. Mom wouldn't have done this. Mom wouldn't have made Elena leave. The words were a knife between his ribs. Lily, that's not fair. You're not fair. You're just scared and you ruin everything. She ran to her room, slammed the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Ryan sat there in the kitchen, surrounded by untouched breakfast and the wreckage of his decisions, and wondered how everything had gone so wrong so fast. His phone was still off. He'd left it that way all night, unable to face whatever messages might be waiting. Now he picked it up, thumb hovering over the power button. Don't be a coward, he told himself. Face it. The phone came alive with notifications, texts from Elena, a voicemail, even an email. Ryan's stomach churned as he opened the messages. The texts had stopped around midnight. The last one just said, I understand if you need space. I'll be at Murphy's tomorrow morning if you want to talk. If not, I'll respect your decision. It was Saturday. No work, no school, just a long, empty day stretching ahead. Ryan looked at the closed door to Lily's room, heard her crying, muffled but persistent. He thought about what she'd said, that he was scared, that he ruined everything. She wasn't wrong. He'd been so focused on his own hurt that he hadn't thought about what this meant for Lily, hadn't considered that maybe his daughter needed Elena more than his pride needed to be right. Ryan stood up, walked to Lily's door, knocked softly. Go away. Lily, can we talk? No. Please, baby. I'm sorry. Silence. Then, quietly, you're always sorry after you mess things up. That one hurt even more because it was true. How many times had he snapped at her out of exhaustion, then apologized later? How many broken promises and missed moments had he tried to smooth over with, I'm sorry? You're right, he said through the door. I do mess things up, and I did mess this up. But I'm trying, okay? I'm trying to figure out how to do this without your mom here to help me, and sometimes I get it wrong. The door opened a crack. Lily's face appeared, eyes red and swollen. Do you still like Elena? She asked. Yeah, I do. Then why did you yell at her? Ryan leaned against the door frame, suddenly exhausted. Because I was scared. Because I thought she was lying to me, and that made me feel stupid and small, and I reacted badly. But she wasn't trying to make you feel small. No, I don't think she was. So you were just being dumb. Despite everything, Ryan almost smiled. Yeah, I was being dumb. Lily studied him with those two old eyes. Are you going to fix it? I don't know if I can. You have to try. That's what you always tell me. If you mess up, you have to try to fix it. More of his own advice, weaponized against him. When had his daughter gotten so good at this? Okay, he said. I'll try. But Lily, I need you to understand something. Even if I fix it with Elena, things might not go back to how they were. Sometimes you can't undo the damage. But you can still try. Yeah, I can still try. She pushed the door open fully, walked into his arms. Ryan held her tight, breathing in the strawberry shampoo smell of her hair. I'm sorry I said you ruin everything, Lily whispered. You don't ruin everything, just some things. Thanks, kid. And I'm sorry I said I wanted Mom instead of you. It's okay. I want her too sometimes. They stood there for a long moment, just holding each other. Then Lily pulled back. So are you going to Murphy's? Ryan checked his watch. 8:15. If Elena was there, she'd have been waiting for 45 minutes already. Yeah, I think I am. You want to come with me? Lily shook her head. This is grown-up stuff. You should go alone, but Daddy, yeah? Don't be dumb again. I'll do my best. Ryan called Mrs. Chen, who agreed to watch Lily despite it being Saturday. He showered, threw on clean clothes, and stood in front of the mirror, trying to figure out what the hell he was going to say. The drive to Murphy's took 10 minutes, but felt like an hour. His hands were shaking on the steering wheel. What if Elena wasn't there? What if she was there but wouldn't talk to him? What if he'd burned the bridge so thoroughly that there was no way back? He parked across the street, sat in his truck staring at the cafe. Through the window, he could see Marcus behind the counter, the usual Saturday crowd, and there, at her table in the back, Elena. She looked small somehow, hunched over her coffee, staring at her phone. Her hair was down, hiding her face. She was wearing jeans and a hoodie, the most casual he'd ever seen her. She looked like she'd been crying. Ryan forced himself out of the truck, across the street, through the door. The bell chimed. Marcus looked up, his expression carefully neutral. A few other customers glanced over, then quickly away. Apparently the drama from last night had made the rounds. Elena's head snapped up at the sound of the bell. Her eyes found his, and for a second neither of them moved. Then Ryan walked to her table and sat down. "Hi," he said. "Hi." Her voice was rough, like she'd been crying a lot. "I wasn't sure you'd come." "I wasn't sure I would either." Elena wrapped her hands tighter around her mug. "I ordered you a coffee, black. It's probably cold by now." Ryan looked at the cup sitting across from her. She'd been waiting for him, hoping he'd show up. The realization made his chest ache. "Thank you," he said. They sat in silence for a moment. The cafe buzzed around them, but it felt like they were in a bubble, separate from everything else. "I'm sorry," Elena said finally. "I should have told you from the beginning, about who I am, what I do. It wasn't fair to keep that from you." "Why didn't you?" She took a shaky breath. "Because for the first time in 10 years, someone was looking at me like I was just a person, not a bank account, not a business opportunity, not a target or a conquest, just me." She met his eyes, and I was selfish enough to want to keep that feeling for as long as I could. Ryan absorbed that. "So you lied." "I didn't lie. I just didn't volunteer information." "That's the same thing, Elena. I know. I know it is." She pressed her palms against her eyes. "But you have to understand, my whole life people have wanted something from me. Money, connections, status. The moment they find out who I am, I stop being Elena and start being Elena Vaughn of Vaughn Industries. And I'm so tired of it, Ryan. I'm so tired of being that person instead of just myself." "So you thought pretending with me was the answer?" "I wasn't pretending. That's what you're not getting. Everything I shared with you was real, more real than anything in my actual life. The version of me you know, that's who I am underneath all the corporate bullshit. That's who I wish I could be all the time." Ryan wanted to stay angry, wanted to hold on to his righteous indignation. But looking at Elena, really looking at her, all he saw was someone as lonely and scared as he was. "I get it," he said quietly. "I do. But you put me in an impossible position. You made me feel like we were equals when we're not even close. And then you met Lily, and you became important to her. And I let that happen because I thought you were someone you're not. I am that person. The money doesn't change who I am inside, doesn't it? Because from where I'm sitting, it changes everything. You live in a completely different world than us. You have resources and options I can't even imagine. How am I supposed to—" He stopped, struggled with the words. "How am I supposed to be with someone when I can't even afford to take her to a decent restaurant?" Elena's eyes went wide. "Is that what you think? That I care about restaurants and money and any of that? How can you not? It's your entire life. It's not my life. It's my job. There's a difference." She leaned forward, intensity blazing in her expression. "Ryan, I have been to every expensive restaurant in this city. I have been to galas and charity events and board meetings in buildings with views that cost more per month than most people make in a year. And you know what? I was miserable. Every single moment I was playing a role being who everyone expected me to be. And then I met you. And you treated me like I was nobody special. You didn't try to impress me or use me or get something from me. You just saw me, the real me. And for the first time in longer than I can remember, I felt like I could breathe. Ryan's anger was crumbling, but fear was rushing in to take its place. I can't give you the life you're used to. I don't want the life I'm used to. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Lily and I live in a two-bedroom apartment that's falling apart. I drive a truck that's older than my relationship with my late wife. I work construction, and I'm one bad accident away from losing everything. That's my reality, Elena. That's what you'd be signing up for. I know. Do you? Because it's easy to romanticize struggle when you've never actually struggled. Elena flinched like he'd slapped her. You think I haven't struggled? You think money solves everything? It solves a lot. It solves some things, but it doesn't fix loneliness. It doesn't give you genuine connections. It doesn't make people love you for who you are instead of what you have. Her voice broke. I would give up everything, every dollar, every asset, every bit of power to have what you have with Lily. That kind of pure, unconditional love. Do you have any idea how rare that is? Ryan sat back, stunned. He'd never thought about it that way. Had never considered that his poverty might contain riches Elena couldn't buy. I'm scared, he admitted. I'm scared of letting you in and then losing you. I'm scared of Lily getting hurt. I'm scared that you'll wake up one day and realize you're bored of playing house with the working-class guy and his kid. I'm scared too, Elena said. I'm scared you'll never see past the money. I'm scared you'll always feel inferior when you're not. I'm scared I'll screw this up because I don't know how to have a normal relationship. Neither do I. My wife died, Elena. The last relationship I had ended with me watching her waste away in a hospital bed, holding her hand while she apologized for leaving me alone. That's the framework I'm working from here. I'm not going to die. You don't know that. Nobody knows that. No, Elena agreed. I don't. But I'm here right now, and so are you. And we can either let fear win, or we can try to build something together, even if it's messy, even if it's hard. Ryan wanted to believe her, wanted to believe that love, or whatever this was becoming, could bridge the gap between their worlds. But doubt gnawed at him. What about your life? He asked. Your company, your responsibilities. How does a construction worker and his 8-year-old daughter fit into that? I don't know yet, but I want to find out. Elena reached across the table, her hand palm up in invitation. I'm not asking you to have all the answers right now. I'm just asking you to not shut the door completely, to give us a chance to figure it out together. Ryan looked at her hand, thought about Lily's face this morning, thought about the past few weeks and how alive he'd felt, how hopeful, how much he'd miss this if he walked away. Slowly, he reached out and took her hand, her fingers curled around his, warm and real. Okay, he said, we can try. Elena's exhale was shaky with relief. Okay. But I need you to be honest with me about everything. No more hiding parts of yourself, even if you think they'll scare me off. I can do that. And I need you to understand that this is going to be complicated. I have a daughter who comes first, always. I have a life that's not going to change just because you're in it. I can't be your escape from reality. I am reality. I know, and that's exactly what I want. They sat there holding hands across the table, both of them bruised and uncertain, but willing to try. It wasn't a fairy tale. It wasn't even close to a solution. But it was something. Marcus appeared beside the table with a fresh pot of coffee. You two done breaking my customers' hearts with your drama? Because I got a business to run here. Despite everything, Ryan smiled. Sorry, Marcus. Don't apologize to me. Apologize to everyone who had to watch you two dance around each other for weeks. He refilled both their mugs. On the house. Consider it an investment in you not making my cafe into a soap opera anymore. No promises, Elena said, and Marcus snorted. After he walked away, Ryan took a sip of fresh coffee and studied Elena, really looked at her without the anger clouding his vision. Tell me about your life, he said. The real version, not the corporate stuff, the parts that matter to you. Elena seemed surprised by the question. What do you want to know? Everything. Start with how you ended up running a company at 34. She laughed, but it sounded tired. That's a long story. We've got time. So Elena told him about inheriting the company from her father when she was 26, unprepared and overwhelmed. About the board members who tried to push her out, convinced a woman that Young couldn't handle it. About fighting tooth and nail to prove herself, To earn respect in a world that didn't want to give it. I've spent the last 8 years being harder than I want to be, she said. Making decisions that keep me up at night, sacrificing relationships, friendships, any semblance of a normal life. All to prove I deserve a seat at a table I'm not even sure I want to be at anymore. Why keep doing it then? Because thousands of people depend on me. Because walking away feels like admitting everyone who doubted me was right. Because I don't know who I am if I'm not this. Ryan understood that more than he wanted to admit. He'd built his whole identity around being Lily's father, around surviving, around not falling apart. Taking away those structures felt dangerous. What would you do? He asked. If you could do anything. Elena thought about it. I don't know, something smaller. Something where I could actually see the impact I'm making instead of just moving money around on spreadsheets. She smiled. Maybe open a cafe, somewhere people could come and just be themselves. You want to compete with Marcus? I want to create what Marcus has created, a space that feels like home. They talked for 2 more hours, the conversation flowing easier now. Elena told him about her childhood, about growing up with every material advantage but emotional distance. Ryan told her more about Sarah, about the good parts he usually kept locked away because remembering hurt too much. Eventually, Elena checked her phone and winced. I have a conference call in an hour. I should probably head home and prepare. On a Saturday? Business doesn't stop for weekends. Not at my level. Ryan walked her to the door. Outside, the Seattle drizzle had started again, turning the streets slick and gray. Thank you, Elena said, for giving me another chance. Thank you for waiting for me to get my head out of my ass. She laughed, and it sounded genuine this time. Can I see you again? And Lily? Lily's going to be thrilled. Fair warning, she's going to grill you about where you've been. I can handle an interrogation from an 8-year-old. You've clearly never met Lily. Elena stepped closer, and for a moment Ryan thought she might kiss him. Instead, she just squeezed his hand. I'll text you, she said. I'll actually answer this time. She left, and Ryan watched her walk away until she disappeared around the corner. When he turned back, Marcus was watching him through the window with an expression that was almost paternal. Ryan went back inside. What? Nothing. Just wondering if you're going to screw this up again. Planning not to. Good. That woman's got it bad for you. Be smart about it. Ryan nodded, paid for the coffee, and headed home. His phone buzzed halfway there. Thank you for showing up. I know that wasn't easy, he typed back while stopped at a red light. Thank you for staying. That wasn't easy either. Is Lily okay? She will be once I tell her we talked. Give her a hug for me? Will do. When Ryan got home, Lily was waiting by the window. She took one look at his face and broke into a smile. You fixed it? I'm working on it. It's not perfect, but we're talking. Is she coming back? Yeah, she's coming back. Lily threw her arms around him, and Ryan held his daughter tight, grateful for her wisdom and her forgiveness and her ability to see things more clearly than he could. The next few days fell into a new pattern. Elena still came to Murphy's most mornings, but now Ryan knew who she was. Knew about the meetings she was rushing to, the decisions she was making, the weight she carried. It was strange, holding both versions of her in his head. The woman who made pasta in his kitchen and the CEO who controlled millions of dollars. She came to dinner on Wednesday, and Lily interrogated her exactly as promised. So you're rich? Lily asked over spaghetti. Lily, Ryan warned. What? I'm just asking. Elena didn't seem bothered. Yeah, I'm rich. How rich? Rich enough that I don't have to worry about money. That must be nice. Sometimes. Other times it's complicated. Lily twirled pasta on her fork, considering this. Do you have a big house? Pretty big. Bigger than our apartment? A lot bigger. Can we see it? Ryan nearly choked on his wine. Lily, you can't just invite yourself to someone's house. Why not? Elena invites herself here all the time. Elena laughed. She's got a point. And yes, you can see it, both of you. Maybe this weekend? Ryan wanted to say no. Wanted to keep that part of Elena's world separate from theirs. But Lily's face was so hopeful, and Elena's invitation seemed genuine. Okay, he said. This weekend. Saturday morning, Elena picked them up in a car that made Ryan's truck look like a toy. Lily's eyes went wide. Is this yours? One of them, Elena said, then caught Ryan's expression. Sorry, I'm still figuring out how to talk about this stuff without sounding like an asshole. You don't sound like an asshole. You sound like someone who has nice things. Multiple cars is excessive. I know it is. Most of them just sit in the garage. They drove north out of the city, into neighborhoods Ryan had only seen in magazines. The houses got bigger, the lots more expansive, the trees older and more majestic. Finally, Elena turned down a long driveway. The house at the end of it was obscene. Holy shit, Ryan breathed, then clapped his hand over his mouth. Sorry, Lily, don't repeat that. It's too big, Lily declared. Elena parked, turned off the car. Yeah, it is. Inside was somehow worse. The foyer alone was bigger than Ryan's entire apartment. Everything was pristine, expensive, cold. It looked like a spread from Architectural Digest, beautiful, but utterly lifeless. This is where you live? Lily asked, her voice echoing. Technically, though I'm not here much, mostly I just sleep here. Ryan could see why. The house was impressive but empty. No family photos, no personal touches, just expensive furniture arranged in perfect formation. Elena led them on a tour, pointing out rooms with obvious discomfort. The kitchen that looked like it had never been cooked in, the dining room table that seated 14, the home theater, the indoor pool. Do you swim? Lily asked. No, I don't even know why I have a pool. They ended up in the living room, massive windows overlooking Puget Sound. The view was breathtaking. The emptiness was heartbreaking. Elena, Lily said quietly, are you lonely here? Elena looked at Ryan's daughter, and something in her face cracked. Yeah, sweetheart. I'm really lonely here. Then why do you stay? Because I thought this was what success looked like. This house, these things. I thought if I had all of it, I'd feel like I'd made it. Do you? No, I feel like I'm living in a museum. Lily walked over and took Elena's hand. You can come live with us. Our apartment's small, but it's not lonely. Elena's laugh turned into something that might have been a sob. She crouched down to Lily's level. Thank you, sweetheart. That's the nicest offer I've had in a long time. I'm serious. We have a couch. You could sleep there. Ryan watched this exchange with something breaking open in his chest. His daughter offering their tiny apartment to a billionaire. Elena, looking at Lily like she'd just been given the world. How about I just visit a lot, Elena said. Would that be okay? Only if you bring more pasta. Deal. They didn't stay at the house long. By unspoken agreement, they all wanted to leave. Elena drove them to a small park near the water where Lily could run around and they could breathe easier. I'm sorry, Elena said as they watched Lily chase seagulls. I shouldn't have brought you there. I just wanted you to see all of it. Understand what you're getting into. I'm starting to, Ryan said, and I'm starting to realize that money doesn't solve the problems that actually matter. No, it doesn't. Elena, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you actually like your life? Not the work, not the responsibility, the actual day-to-day of it? She was quiet for a long time. No. Most days I feel like I'm suffocating. Then why not change it? Because I don't know how. Because walking away from everything I've built feels impossible. Because I'm scared of what comes next. Ryan understood that intimately. The fear of change, even when change was what you needed most. They sat there watching Lily play, the sound stretching out before them, both of them wrapped in their own uncertainties. But they were facing them together now. That had to count for something. The breaking point came 3 weeks later, on a Tuesday that started like any other. Ryan was at the construction site, up on scaffolding, helping secure steel beams for what would eventually be the 6th floor of an office building downtown. The rain had stopped for once, leaving the city washed clean and almost beautiful. He was thinking about dinner. Elena was coming over again, and Lily had requested her famous carbonara. When his phone rang, Tommy's voice cut through the work noise. Carter, get down here now. Ryan's stomach dropped. Tommy only used that tone when something was seriously wrong. He climbed down, found his boss waiting by the trailer with an expression that looked almost sympathetic. What's going on? Corporate called. They're cutting costs across all projects, letting people go. Ryan felt the world tilt. How many people? 20% of every crew. I fought for you, man. I really did. But you've been late too many times, called in sick too many times. They want people who can be here without complications. I have a kid. Those weren't just excuses. I know, but corporate doesn't care. I'm sorry, Ryan. You're a good worker, but my hands are tied. Just like that, it was over. Ryan cleaned out his locker, shook Tommy's hand, and walked to his truck in a daze. He sat behind the wheel for 20 minutes, staring at nothing, trying to process what had just happened. No job meant no paycheck. No paycheck meant no rent. No rent meant no apartment. The dominoes were already falling in his mind, each one knocking into the next. He should call Elena, should tell her what happened, but the thought of admitting this failure, of proving every doubt he'd had about their relationship, made him sick. Instead, he drove home and started looking for work. By the time he picked up Lily from school, Ryan had applied to 15 different jobs online. Most wouldn't even respond. The ones that did would offer less money, worse hours, no benefits. He was 32 years old with no degree and a resume full of manual labor. His options were limited and getting narrower. "Daddy, you're quiet," Lily said from the back seat. "Just tired, sweetie." "Is Elena still coming for dinner?" Ryan had forgotten. He checked his phone, 3 messages from Elena, the last one saying she was picking up groceries and would be there by 6. He should cancel, should tell her he wasn't feeling well, buy himself time to figure out how to break the news. But Lily was already bouncing in her seat with excitement, and Ryan didn't have the heart to disappoint her too. "Yeah," he said. "She's still coming." Elena arrived right on time, arms full of grocery bags and that smile that made Ryan's chest ache. She kissed Lily's cheek, squeezed Ryan's hand, and headed straight to the kitchen like she belonged there. Ryan watched her move around his tiny space, chatting with Lily about school while she chopped vegetables. She'd changed after work, traded her power suit for jeans and a soft sweater. Her hair was in a messy bun. She looked relaxed, happy. He couldn't tell her, not tonight. Dinner was good, the conversation flowing easily. Lily told Elena about the boy in her class who ate paste. Elena told them about a disastrous board meeting where the projector had died mid-presentation. Ryan pushed food around his plate and tried to look normal. After Lily went to bed, Elena stayed to help clean up. They worked in comfortable silence until she finally said, "Okay, what's wrong?" "Nothing, I'm fine." "Ryan, you've barely said 10 words all night. That's not fine." He kept washing dishes, focusing on the rhythm of it. Soap, scrub, rinse. Just a long day. Elena moved beside him, took the dish from his hands, set it in the rack. "Talk to me." "I lost my job." The words came out flat, emotionless. Elena went still. "What happened?" "Layoffs, budget cuts. I'm not essential enough to keep around." "Ryan, I'm so sorry. I don't want your pity." The words came out harsher than he intended. Elena flinched. "I'm not pitying you. I'm sympathizing. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Because from where I'm standing, it feels like I just proved every fear I had about us. I can't even keep a job, Elena. How am I supposed to be with someone like you when I can't even provide basic stability for my own kid? This isn't about us. This is about a company making a business decision. Everything's about us." Ryan threw the dish rag into the sink. "Don't you get it? This is my life. This is what I tried to tell you. One bad break and everything falls apart. I'm 1 month away from losing this apartment, from not being able to feed Lily, from—" He stopped, chest heaving. Elena was watching him with those dark eyes, and he couldn't read her expression. "Let me help," she said quietly. "No." "Ryan, I said no. I don't want your money. It's not about money. It's about supporting someone you care about when they're struggling. It's always about money with you. You can't understand what this feels like because you've never had to worry about it. You've never had to choose between electricity and groceries. You've never had to—" "Stop," Elena cut him off, her voice sharp now. "Stop acting like money makes me immune to pain, like my problems don't matter because I can pay my bills. I've lost people too, Ryan. I know what it feels like to be alone and scared and uncertain about the future. It's not the same." "No, it's not. But that doesn't mean my feelings aren't real, and it doesn't mean I don't want to help you." Ryan leaned against the counter, suddenly exhausted. "I can't take money from you, Elena. I can't be that guy." "What guy?" "The guy who dates a rich woman for her money. The guy everyone assumes is using you. The guy who—" He stopped, rubbed his face. "The guy who can't take care of his own kid without help." Elena was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was gentle but firm. Is that really what you think? That accepting help makes you less of a man? Less of a father? I think it makes me dependent. And I've spent 3 years building a life where I don't depend on anyone. That sounds lonely. It's safe. Is it? Because you look miserable right now. Ryan had no response to that. He was miserable. Had been for years if he was honest, but misery was familiar. Misery he could handle. Hope was what scared him. Elena moved closer, her hand finding his. I'm not trying to save you, Ryan. I'm not trying to fix your life or be your white knight. I just want to be here, in whatever way you'll let me. I don't know how to let you. Then we'll figure it out together. What if I can't figure it out? What if I'm too broken for this? Elena's hand came up to his cheek, turning his face toward hers. Then we'll be broken together. I'm not asking for perfect, Ryan. I'm asking for real. He kissed her then, pulling her close and pouring all his fear and frustration and desperate hope into it. Elena kissed him back, her arms wrapping around his neck, and for a moment everything else fell away. When they pulled apart, both breathing hard, Ryan rested his forehead against hers. I'm scared, he whispered. Me too. What are we doing? I have no idea, but I don't want to stop. They stood there in his tiny kitchen, holding each other like lifelines. And Ryan let himself believe, just for a moment, that maybe this could work. Elena left around 11, and Ryan lay awake for hours afterward, staring at the ceiling. His phone buzzed around 1 a.m. I've been thinking, what if you didn't look for another construction job? Ryan frowned at the screen. What else would I do? You said you wanted to be an architect. What if you went back to school? I'm 32 with a kid. I can't afford college. What if money wasn't an issue? Ryan sat up, anger flaring hot in his chest. We just talked about this. I'm not taking your money. I'm not offering money. I'm offering an idea. Just think about it. Elena, I can't. You mean you won't? He stared at the message, jaw clenched. She was right. He wouldn't. Couldn't imagine accepting that kind of help, that kind of debt. Good night, Ryan. The conversation ended there, leaving him frustrated and guilty and more confused than ever. The next few days were tense. Ryan threw himself into job hunting with desperate intensity. He applied everywhere, construction companies, warehouses, retail stores, anything that would pay the bills. Elena still came to Murphy's most mornings, but the easy comfort between them had fractured. They talked around things instead of about them. Lily noticed. Of course she noticed. Are you and Elena fighting? She asked one night over dinner. We're just working through some stuff. What kind of stuff? Adult stuff. That's what you always say when you don't want to explain. Ryan set down his fork. You're right. I'm sorry. Elena and I are trying to figure out how to be together when our lives are really different. Different how? She has a lot of money. We don't. That makes things complicated. Lily thought about this. Mrs. Chen says money doesn't matter if people love each other. Mrs. Chen is very wise, but it's more complicated than that. Why? Because I have pride, Lily, and accepting help from Elena feels like admitting I can't do this on my own. But you can't do it on your own. Nobody can. That's why people have friends and family. Out of the mouths of 8-year-olds. Ryan reached across the table, squeezed her hand. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just don't listen. The call came on Thursday. A construction company across town needed someone to start Monday. The pay was less than Tommy's crew, the commute longer, but it was work. Ryan took it. He texted Elena the news. Her response came immediately. That's great. I'm happy for you. But something in those words felt hollow. Ryan stared at his phone, trying to figure out what was wrong. Can we talk? In person? When? Tonight, after Lily's asleep. Okay, I'll come by around 9. Ryan spent the evening in nervous anticipation. He got Lily through her bedtime routine on autopilot, his mind spinning through possible conversations. When the knock finally came, he nearly jumped. Elena looked tired when he opened the door. Not just physically tired, soul tired. She came in without her usual greeting, sat on the couch without taking off her coat. I can't do this anymore, she said. Ryan's heart stopped. Do what? Pretend that your pride isn't killing us. Watch you push me away because accepting help feels like weakness to you." She looked at him, and her eyes were red-rimmed. "I care about you, Ryan, about you and Lily, but I can't be with someone who sees my wanting to help as an insult. That's not fair. Isn't it? You won't let me support you. You won't talk to me about your fears. You just shut down and push me away and expect me to keep showing up anyway. I took the job, didn't I? I'm handling it. By taking a pay cut and adding an hour to your commute, by making your life harder, instead of letting me make it easier. Because I need to do this myself." "Why?" Elena's voice rose. "Why do you need to suffer alone? What are you trying to prove? That I'm enough, that I can take care of my daughter without depending on anyone. That I'm not just some charity case you picked up because you were bored with your billionaire life." Elena stood up, her face flushed with anger. "Is that what you think? That this is entertainment for me? That I'm slumming it with the poor people for kicks? Isn't it? Come on, Elena, be honest. What happens when the novelty wears off? When you get tired of my tiny apartment and my financial stress and the reality of dating someone beneath your tax bracket? Beneath my—" She stopped, took a breath. "You know what? I think you want me to leave. I think you're so convinced this won't work that you're sabotaging it before it has a chance. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm saving us both time. Or maybe you're just scared. Scared that if you let yourself be happy, you'll lose it all again like you did with Sarah." The name hung in the air like a bomb. Ryan felt something cold spread through his chest. "Don't bring her into this." "Why not? She's in everything you do. Every decision you make is colored by losing her. And I get it, Ryan, I do. But you can't live the rest of your life afraid to feel anything because it might hurt. You have no idea what you're talking about. Don't I? I've watched you for months now, keeping everyone at arm's length, building walls so high nobody can get close. You think I don't see it? You think I don't recognize it because I do the exact same thing?" Ryan wanted to argue, wanted to defend himself, but the words wouldn't come because she was right. Elena's shoulders slumped. "I love you, Ryan." The confession hit him like a physical blow. "What?" "I love you. And I love Lily. And I want to build a life with you both, whatever that looks like. But I can't do it alone. You have to let me in. You have to trust that I'm not going anywhere." Ryan's throat was too tight to speak. Elena waited, hope and fear warring in her expression. When he didn't respond, something in her face broke. "Right," she said quietly. "I guess I have my answer." She moved toward the door. Ryan's body finally unfroze, his hand reaching out to catch her arm. "Wait, Elena, wait." She stopped but didn't turn around. "I'm terrified," Ryan said, the words scraping out of him. "I'm terrified of needing you. Of Lily needing you. Of building something with you and then having it ripped away. I can't—" His voice cracked. "I can't go through that again. I barely survived it the first time." Elena turned, tears streaming down her face. "I can't promise you forever, Ryan. Nobody can. But I can promise you today and tomorrow and the next day. Isn't that enough?" "I don't know, is it? It has to be. Because the alternative is spending our lives alone and miserable out of fear of what might happen." Ryan thought about Lily's words, about Mrs. Chen's wisdom, about Sarah's last request that he and Lily still have good things, still be happy. "I don't know how to do this," he admitted. "Neither do I, but we can figure it out together." Elena stepped closer, her hand finding his. "Let me help you, Ryan. Not because I think you're weak, but because people who love each other help each other. That's what makes it love. I got the job. I can handle. Take the semester off. Go back to school. Follow the dream you gave up. Elena, I'm not asking you to be dependent on me forever. I'm asking you to let me invest in your future. In our future. Let me give you the chance you deserved 10 years ago." Ryan wanted to say no. Every instinct screamed at him to refuse, to protect his pride, to maintain his independence. But then he thought about what that would mean. More years of jobs that broke his body and spirit. More time away from Lily. More settling for less than he was capable of. More running from happiness because he was afraid of pain. "What if it doesn't work?" he whispered. "What if it does?" They stood there in the doorway, the question hanging between them. Outside, rain had started again, Seattle being Seattle. Inside, Ryan's carefully constructed walls were crumbling. Okay, he heard himself say. Okay, I'll think about it. Elena's smile was tremulous. That's all I'm asking. She kissed him softly, a promise and a question all at once. When she pulled back, Ryan cupped her face in his hands. I love you too, he said. I'm terrible at it, and I'm going to mess this up constantly, but I love you. We'll mess it up together. That's a terrible relationship motto. It's honest. They both laughed, the tension breaking. Elena stayed another hour, talking through possibilities. She knew people at University of Washington, could make calls. Ryan could start in the fall, take evening classes so he could still be there for Lily during the day. It terrified him. It also felt like hope. After Elena left, Ryan stood in Lily's doorway, watching her sleep. She'd kicked off her covers again, sprawled across the bed like she owned the world. So small, so trusting, so deserving of a father who wasn't too scared to be happy. I'm going to try, he whispered, for both of us. The next morning at Murphy's, Elena was already waiting. She had 2 coffees and 2 muffins, and when Ryan sat down, she slid a folder across the table. What's this? Information on UW's architecture program. Application deadlines, course requirements, everything you need. Ryan opened the folder, his hands shaking slightly. Inside were printouts, highlighted and annotated in Elena's neat handwriting. She'd done her homework. You were serious, he said. Did you think I wasn't? I thought maybe you'd wake up and realize this was crazy. It's not crazy. It's overdue. Elena leaned forward. You're talented, Ryan. I've seen the sketches you doodle on napkins when you think nobody's looking. You should be designing buildings, not just putting them together. They're good, really good, and you deserve the chance to make them real. Ryan looked at the folder, at Elena, at the future spreading out before him like an open door. It was terrifying. It was impossible. It was exactly what he needed. I'll need to keep working, he said, at least part-time. I can't just live off your generosity. Agreed. The new job 3 days a week, school the other days. We'll make it work. And Lily comes first, always. I wouldn't have it any other way. And we take this slow. No moving in together, no big gestures, just Ryan. Elena's hand covered his. I'm not trying to rush you into anything. I'm just trying to give you options you didn't have before. He nodded, overwhelmed. Thank you. Thank you for letting me. They sat there drinking coffee and planning a future that felt impossible and inevitable all at once. Other customers came and went. Marcus refilled their mugs without comment, though Ryan caught him smiling. When Lily got out of school that day, Ryan picked her up with the folder still in his truck. She climbed in, dumped her backpack, and immediately noticed. What's that? Information about going back to school, to study architecture? Lily's eyes went huge. Really? You're really going to do it? I'm going to try. It's going to mean some changes. I'll be busier. We'll have to adjust our schedule. Lily launched herself across the seat and hugged him so hard he almost couldn't breathe. This is because of Elena, isn't it? Yeah, it is. I told you we should keep her. Ryan laughed despite the tears burning his eyes. You were right, kiddo. Like always. That night, he filled out the application. His hands were steady as he typed his information, answered the questions, uploaded the transcripts from his 1 year at UW a decade ago. When he hit submit, it felt like jumping off a cliff. Elena came over for dinner again. They told Lily the plan together. Ryan would start school in the fall. They'd make it work as a family. Lily had a million questions, all of which Elena answered with patience and enthusiasm. After Lily went to bed, Ryan and Elena sat on the couch, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her waist. I'm still scared, Ryan admitted. Me too. What are you scared of? Elena was quiet for a moment. That I'll mess this up, that I'll hurt you and Lily without meaning to, that I don't actually know how to be in a normal relationship because I've spent so long being corporate Elena. Well, I don't know how to be in any relationship because my wife died and I've been alone for 3 years, so we're even. We're a mess. Yeah, but we're trying. That's something. Ryan kissed the top of her head, breathing in her perfume. Outside, rain tapped against the windows. Inside, for the first time in longer than he could remember, Ryan felt something that wasn't fear or grief or exhaustion. He felt peace. The acceptance letter came 6 weeks later. Ryan stared at it for 10 minutes before he could process what it said. He'd been accepted into the architecture program starting fall semester, financial aid pending, dreams possible. He called Elena immediately. I got in. Ryan, that's amazing. I can't believe it. I actually can't believe it. I can. You're talented and smart and you deserve this. I need to tell Lily. Go, call me later. I'm so proud of you. Ryan picked up Lily from school early, took her for ice cream, and showed her the letter. She screamed so loud the other customers stared. Daddy's going to college, she announced to everyone. My daddy's going to be an architect. Ryan laughed, embarrassed and happy, and terrified all at once. This was real now. This was happening. That weekend, Elena took them both out to celebrate. Not somewhere fancy. Ryan had made that clear. Just a nice restaurant where Lily could order chicken fingers and Ryan could afford to split the bill. After dinner, walking back to the car, Lily grabbed both their hands and swung between them. We should do this more, she announced. Do what? Elena asked. Be together, like a family. Ryan's step faltered. Elena's hand tightened in his. We're working on it, sweetie, Ryan said carefully. Well, work faster. I like when Elena's around. Everything's better when she's around. Later, after they dropped Lily off with Mrs. Chen for a sleepover, Ryan and Elena sat in his truck outside her house, the mansion she'd confessed she hated. Come inside? Elena asked. You sure? I want to show you something. She led him through the empty, echoing halls to her home office. On the desk were architectural plans spread out and covered in notes. What is this, real? Ryan asked. A cafe. I've been working with the designer on plans, something small, community-focused, a place where people can come and just be themselves. Ryan studied the plans. They were good, really good. Warm woods, natural light, an open kitchen, nothing like the sterile perfection of Elena's house. This is incredible. You think so? Yeah, when are you building it? Elena took a breath. I was hoping you'd help me, after you graduate, design something together. Ryan looked at her, at the hope and fear in her expression. You want to go into business together? I want to build something meaningful, something that matters, and I want to do it with you. It was too much, too fast, too impossible, but Ryan looked at the plans again, at the vision Elena had crafted, and saw possibility. Okay, he said, after I graduate. We'll build it together. Elena kissed him then, deep and promising, and Ryan let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, they could actually pull this off. The first semester nearly broke him. Ryan had forgotten what it felt like to be a student, the late nights bent over textbooks, the panic before exams, the feeling of being the oldest person in every class by at least a decade. He juggled 3 days a week at the construction job with evening classes and weekend study sessions, all while trying to be present for Lily. Some nights he fell into bed so exhausted he couldn't remember his own name. Elena helped where she could. She picked up Lily from school on Ryan's late days, helped with homework, brought dinner when Ryan was drowning in assignments. But even her support couldn't make the workload lighter or the hours longer. 2 months in, Ryan stood in his kitchen at 2 a.m, staring at a failed structural design project that was due in 6 hours and seriously considered quitting. His phone buzzed. Elena, because of course she was awake too. How's it going? It's not. I can't figure this out. Want me to come over? It's 2 a.m. So? I'm not doing anything important, just answering emails from Tokyo. 20 minutes later, Elena was sitting at his kitchen table in sweatpants and an old t-shirt, her reading glasses on, looking at his designs. Here's your problem, she said, pointing to a load-bearing wall. You're distributing the weight wrong. Move this here, adjust the foundation calculations, and it should work. Ryan stared at her. How do you know that? I own a construction company, remember? Well, technically, I own the parent company that owns the construction company, but I've picked up some things. You didn't tell me that. Elena shrugged. You didn't ask. Also, I was trying not to be obnoxious about all the things I own. Ryan made the adjustments she suggested. The design suddenly clicked into place, elegant and functional. He could have kissed her. Actually, he did kiss her. She tasted like coffee and determination. Thank you, he said against her lips. That's what I'm here for. Well, that and the mediocre sex. Ryan pulled back, eyebrows raised. Mediocre? Elena grinned. Got you to stop panicking about school for a second, didn't I? Despite everything, he laughed. You're terrible. I'm amazing, and you know it. She stayed while he finished the project, occasionally offering suggestions, mostly just providing company. When Ryan finally submitted it at 5:30 in the morning, Elena was asleep with her head on the table, glasses askew. He covered her with a blanket and let her sleep while he got Lily ready for school. When Elena woke up an hour later, disoriented and creased from the tablecloth, Lily was eating cereal and watching her with amusement. You snore, Lily announced. I do not. You totally do. It sounds like a baby elephant. Elena looked at Ryan for backup. He held up his hands. I'm staying out of this. Traitor. But she was smiling, and when she left for work, she kissed them both goodbye like it was the most natural thing in the world. The semester lurched forward. Ryan passed his classes, barely, and Elena was there for every small victory and major crisis. She came to Lily's school play. She helped Ryan study for his structural engineering final. She started keeping a toothbrush at his apartment, though neither of them acknowledged what that meant. Winter break came as a relief. Ryan had 2 weeks off from school and had managed to negotiate the same from his construction job. For the first time in months, he could breathe. Elena had different plans. Come spend Christmas with me, she said one morning at Murphy's. Ryan nearly choked on his coffee. What? Christmas. At my place. Well, not the house. I rented a cabin on the Olympic Peninsula, 3 bedrooms, hot tub, view of the ocean. I thought we could all use a break. Elena, I can't afford. It's my Christmas present to you, to all of us. Please don't make this into a thing about money. Ryan wanted to argue. Old habits died hard. But he was so tired, and the thought of a real vacation, something they'd never been able to afford, was impossibly tempting. Okay, he said, but I'm cooking Christmas dinner. Deal. Lily lost her mind when they told her. She spent the next 2 weeks planning what to pack, what games to bring, what movies to watch. Her excitement was infectious enough that even Ryan's anxiety couldn't dampen it completely. The cabin was perfect. Not ostentatious like Elena's house, just comfortable and warm with windows overlooking the gray expanse of the Pacific. They arrived on Christmas Eve, and Lily immediately claimed the room with the best view. That night, after Lily was asleep, Ryan and Elena sat in the hot tub watching stars appear between clouds. The water was almost too hot, steam rising into the cold air. This is nice, Ryan said. Yeah? Yeah. Thank you for doing this. Elena shifted closer, her leg pressing against his under the water. Thank you for letting me. I'm getting better at that, the letting you help thing. You are. Only took you 6 months and a nervous breakdown. I didn't have a nervous breakdown. You called me at midnight crying about cantilever beams. That's pretty close. Ryan splashed water at her. Elena shrieked and retaliated, and within seconds they were both laughing, soaked, and significantly warmer than the hot tub alone could account for. I love you, Ryan said, the words coming easier now than they had the first time. I love you too, even when you're being stubborn and impossible. Especially then, Elena agreed. Christmas morning was chaos in the best way. Lily tore through presents with the single-minded focus of an 8-year-old, squealing over books and art supplies, and a telescope that Elena had somehow known she'd been wanting. Ryan gave Elena a sketch he'd done, a design for the cafe they'd talked about building, refined and improved with everything he'd learned that semester. She cried when she saw it. It's perfect, she whispered. It's a start. We'll refine it together. When you graduate. When I graduate. The day stretched out lazy and warm. They walked on the beach, built a fire in the fireplace, played board games that Lily won through a combination of luck and probably cheating. Ryan cooked dinner. Nothing fancy, just a chicken and vegetables. But it tasted better than any meal they'd had in months. After Lily went to bed, Ryan found Elena on the deck, wrapped in a blanket and staring at the ocean. You okay? He asked. More than okay. This is the best Christmas I've had in years, maybe ever. Ryan joined her, pulling her against his side. Really? Really? Usually I'm at some corporate party making small talk with people I don't like, or alone in that house pretending I'm fine with it. This, she gestured at the cabin, at the space they'd created. This is what I always wanted, but didn't know how to ask for. A slightly burnt chicken and a used cabin? A family. People who actually want me around, not what I can do for them. Ryan's throat tightened. We want you around. Lily asks about you constantly when you're not there. And He paused, searching for the right words. I can't imagine my life without you in it anymore. That scares me, but it's true. Elena turned in his arms, her face serious. Ryan, I need to tell you something. His stomach dropped. Okay. I'm stepping down from Vaughn Industries. What? Not completely. I'll stay on the board, keep some oversight, but I'm hiring a CEO to run the day-to-day operations. Someone who actually wants that life. Ryan struggled to process this. Why? Because I'm miserable. Because I want a life, not just a career. Because I want to build that cafe with you and be there for Lily's school plays and not miss moments because I'm stuck in meetings that don't matter. Elena, you can't just walk away from everything you've built. I'm not walking away. I'm choosing differently. There's a difference. She cupped his face in her hands. I spent 10 years building an empire I didn't want because I thought that's what success looked like. But you and Lily showed me what actually matters. Connection, purpose, love. I want more of that and less of everything else. What if you regret it? What if I don't? What if this is the best decision I ever make? Ryan pulled her close, overwhelmed by the enormity of what she was offering. Not her money or her resources, but her actual self. Her time, her presence, her choice to build a different kind of life. When? He asked. Officially? End of January. I've already started the transition. The board wasn't thrilled, but they'll survive. She smiled. Turns out when you own 60% of the company, people have to listen to you even when they disagree. And you're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. They went inside and made love in front of the fireplace, slow and tender and full of promises neither of them said out loud, but both understood. Afterward, wrapped in blankets with Elena's head on his chest, Ryan felt something he hadn't felt in years. Complete. Not because Elena completed him, that was romantic nonsense, but because he'd finally let someone in enough to share the weight he'd been carrying alone. The spring semester was easier, not because the work was less challenging, but because Ryan had found his rhythm. He knew how to balance school and work and Lily. He knew when to ask for help and when to push through on his own. And he had Elena, steady and present in ways that still surprised him. In March, Elena closed the deal on a small storefront in Ballard, right near the water. It was perfect for the cafe. Big windows, good bones, space to create something meaningful. We'll start renovations after you graduate, she said, showing Ryan and Lily the empty space. Make it exactly what we want it to be. Lily ran around the empty room, her footsteps echoing. Can I help? Absolutely. We'll need someone to test all the pastries and make sure they're good enough. I'm very good at eating pastries. Then you're hired. They spent the afternoon planning, sketching ideas on the windows with dry erase markers. Lily drew elaborate designs involving unicorns and rainbows. Elena suggested practical things like seating arrangements and kitchen layouts. Ryan brought it all together, his architectural training giving shape to their dreams. What should we call it? Lily asked. Elena looked at Ryan. Ryan looked at the space, at the light streaming through the windows, at the possibilities spreading out before them. Murphy's Place, he said, in honor of where we met. Marcus will lose his mind, Elena laughed. Marcus will love it. They told Marcus the next morning. He pretended to be offended, then admitted he was honored, then made them promise to buy coffee from him wholesale. Can't have my namesake serving inferior beans, he declared. Wouldn't dream of it, Elena said. The semester ended with Ryan's best grades yet. He'd found his footing, discovered he was actually good at this. His professors started talking about internships, about opportunities after graduation. For the first time, the future felt real and possible instead of terrifying. Summer brought change. Elena officially stepped down as CEO, staying on as chairman of the board with significantly reduced responsibilities. She moved out of the mansion, put it on the market without ceremony, and into a modest house in Ballard, walking distance from the cafe space. It has 3 bedrooms, she told Ryan casually. You know, in case you and Lily ever wanted to spend more time here. Is this your way of asking us to move in? Is this your way of saying yes? Ryan wanted to overthink it. wanted to catalog all the reasons it was too soon, too fast, too risky. But he looked at Elena's hopeful expression and thought about Lily, who'd been asking when Elena was going to officially be family. "Let me talk to Lily," he said. Lily's response was to pack a bag immediately. "Can we go tonight? I want my room to be the one with the window seat." "We're not moving tonight. We have to do this right. Talk about expectations, figure out logistics." "Daddy, you're doing the overthinking thing again." "I don't have an overthinking thing." Lily gave him a look that was pure Sarah, equal parts exasperation and affection. "You totally have an overthinking thing. Elena wants us to live with her. We want to live with her. What's complicated?" "Everything. Nothing. I don't know." Ryan ran his hands through his hair. "This is a big step, Lil. I want to make sure we're all ready." "I'm ready. Elena's ready. You're the only one being weird about it." Out of the mouths of children. Ryan called Elena that night. "Lily says we're moving in this weekend." Elena laughed. "Did she now? Apparently I'm being weird about it." "Are you?" "Probably, but yeah, let's do it. Let's actually do this." "Yeah?" "Yeah, we're in. All in." The move happened over 2 weeks, partially because Ryan insisted on doing it gradually, mostly because he was terrified and needed time to adjust. But gradually their things migrated from the old apartment to Elena's house. Correction, their house. Lily's room became an explosion of stars and space posters. Ryan's books joined Elena's on the shelves, their lives braided together in ways both profound and mundane. The first night they all slept there, Ryan lay awake listening to the unfamiliar sounds of the house. Elena was curled against his side, breathing deeply. Down the hall, Lily's nightlight glowed. This was his family now, this strange, imperfect, beautiful family. He'd spent 3 years convinced he'd never have this again, never feel this kind of belonging. And yet here it was, built from coffee shop conversations, and shared pain and the courage to let someone in despite the fear. Sarah would have liked Elena. The thought came unbidden, but felt true. She would have appreciated Elena's strength, her determination to be real instead of perfect. She would have wanted this for him and Lily, the happiness, the second chance. Ryan fell asleep with tears on his face and hope in his chest. Fall semester started with Ryan in his final year. The finish line was in sight. His senior thesis project was the Café, a full architectural plan, structural engineering, interior design, the whole package. His professors loved it, praising the integration of form and function, the way the space invited community. "You have real talent, Carter," Professor Williams said during a review. "Have you thought about what comes after graduation? Opening the cafe, building something that matters. And after that?" Ryan hadn't thought that far ahead, but Professor Williams handed him contact information for several firms, suggested he keep his options open. The world needs architects who understand that buildings aren't just structures. They're spaces where people live their lives. You get that in a way most students don't. The cafe renovations began in October. Ryan worked alongside the construction crew, using skills from both his old job and his new education. Elena handled the business side, permits, licenses, vendor relationships. Lily came after school, doing homework in the corner and occasionally offering design suggestions that were surprisingly good. They opened Murphy's Place on a rainy Saturday in December, exactly 1 year after that Christmas at the cabin. Marcus was there, beaming with pride. Mrs. Chen brought half the neighborhood. Lily wore a fancy dress and appointed herself official greeter. The space was everything they'd envisioned: warm woods and natural light, comfortable seating, an open kitchen where people could watch food being made, local art on the walls, rotating monthly, books on shelves for anyone to read, a community board for local events. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't trying to be. It was just real. Ryan stood behind the counter that first day, serving coffee and watching people fill the space, and felt something settle in his chest. This was it. This was what he'd been building toward without knowing it. Not just the cafe, but the life around it, the family, the purpose, the courage to be happy again. Elena came up beside him, slipping her hand into his. "We did it," she said. "Yeah, we really did." "No regrets?" "Not a single one." Graduation came in the spring. Ryan walked across the stage to accept his degree with Elena and Lily cheering so loudly they nearly got kicked out. He was 34 years old, finally finishing what he'd started a decade earlier, and it felt like triumph. The cafe was thriving. They'd become a neighborhood fixture, the place people came for good coffee and real conversation. Ryan had hired a small staff, including a retired teacher who made the best scones in Seattle and a college student who wrote poetry between customers. One morning, a man in an expensive suit walked in and asked for Ryan by name. "I'm David Chen from Harrison and Associates. We're an architectural firm downtown. Professor Williams sent me your thesis project." Ryan's stomach flipped. "Oh? It's exceptional work. We're expanding our community development division, and we're looking for someone who understands how to design spaces that actually serve people. Would you be interested in discussing a position?" Ryan looked around the cafe, at Elena restocking pastries, at Lily doing homework at her favorite table, at the life they'd built together. "I have a business to run here," he said. "We'd work around that, part-time to start, projects that align with your values. We're not interested in pulling you away from this." David gestured at the cafe. "We're interested in helping you do more of it. Can I think about it?" "Take your time. Here's my card. Call me when you're ready to talk." After David left, Elena came over with 2 coffees. "That looked intense." Ryan told her about the offer. She listened without interrupting, her expression thoughtful. "What do you want to do?" she asked when he finished. "I don't know. This place is enough. I'm happy here. But part of me wants to see what else I can do. Design spaces like this all over the city. Help other people build the things they dream about." "So do it." "What about the cafe?" Elena smiled. "The cafe runs itself at this point, and we have staff. This is what I wanted, Ryan, for you to have choices, to follow your dreams wherever they lead, even if it means less time here. Even then, we'll figure it out. We always do." Ryan called David Chen the next day. Started part-time work designing community centers, affordable housing, spaces that prioritize people over profit. He kept his hours at the cafe, kept showing up for Lily's school events, kept building the life that mattered. It was busy and occasionally overwhelming, but it was his, chosen, intentional, real. 2 years after opening Murphy's Place, Ryan proposed to Elena in the cafe after closing. Lily was in on it, had helped him pick the ring and plan the whole thing. It wasn't elaborate, just the 3 of them and Marcus, who'd stayed to witness it. "I know we said we'd take things slow," Ryan started, down on one knee while Elena stared at him with tears already forming. "And we have. We've built this life piece by piece, making sure every step felt right. But I don't want to wait anymore to make it official. Elena Vaughn, will you marry me?" "Yes," she whispered. "Yes. Obviously, yes." Lily cheered. Marcus popped champagne, and Ryan slipped the ring on Elena's finger, marveling at how far they'd come from that rainy morning when he'd stepped between her and Daniel without thinking. They married 6 months later in a small ceremony at the cafe, surrounded by friends and neighbors and the community they'd built. Lily was the flower girl, taking her duties very seriously. Marcus officiated, which was technically illegal, but nobody cared. In his vows, Ryan talked about second chances, about the courage it takes to let someone in when you've already lost everything, about building a life together instead of just surviving one. Elena cried through her entire response, talking about finding home in people instead of places, about learning that success wasn't about money or power, but about connection and purpose and love. "You showed me what matters," she told Ryan, her voice shaking. "You and Lily. You showed me that the smallest act of kindness can change everything, that standing up for a stranger can lead to the life you were meant to build." Lily stood between them during the ceremony, holding both their hands, and Ryan was struck by how right it felt. The 3 of them together, a family built not from biology or circumstance, but from choice, from courage, from the willingness to be vulnerable even when it terrified them. The years that followed weren't perfect. They fought sometimes, usually about money because old habits died hard. Elena occasionally struggled with stepping back from corporate life, missing the power and control. Ryan pushed himself too hard, trying to prove he deserved everything good that had happened. Lily had tough moments, especially as she got older, processing her mom's death in new ways. But they worked through it, together. That was the key they'd learned. You didn't have to be perfect, you just had to be willing to try. 5 years after they met, Ryan stood in the cafe early one morning before opening. Elena was beside him, coffee in hand. Lily was at school. The space was quiet, peaceful. You know what I was thinking about? Ryan said. Hmm? That morning, when Daniel was harassing you and everyone looked away. I try not to think about Daniel. No, but what if I'd looked away too? What if I'd just minded my business like everyone else? Elena turned to face him fully. But you didn't. That's the whole point. You chose to care when you didn't have to. I almost didn't. I sat there telling myself it wasn't my problem. But then you stood up anyway. Why? Ryan thought about it. Because I'd spent 3 years not standing up for anything, not fighting for anything, just surviving. And something in me couldn't do it anymore, couldn't just let the world happen around me while I stayed safe and separate. And I'm glad you couldn't. Because that choice changed everything, for both of us. She was right. That one moment had cascaded into everything else. The conversations at Murphy's, the dinners with Lily, the slow building of trust, the cafe, the marriage, the life. I was so scared, Ryan admitted, of you, of feeling anything, of letting Lily get attached. I almost ruined it because I was too terrified to be happy. But you didn't. You were scared, and you did it anyway. That's courage, Ryan. You were scared too, terrified. I'd never been myself with anyone before. Never let someone see past the CEO facade. You made me want to try. They stood together in the early morning light, surrounded by the physical manifestation of their courage. The cafe wasn't just a business. It was proof that broken people could heal, that different worlds could merge, that love wasn't about equal circumstances but equal commitment. Marcus arrived to start his shift. They'd hired him away from his old cafe with an offer he couldn't refuse. He looked at them standing there and shook his head. You two are disgustingly happy, you know that? We worked hard for this happiness, Elena said. Yeah, you did. Now get out of my kitchen. Some of us have work to do. Ryan and Elena left, walking hand in hand down the street toward the water. The Seattle morning was gray and drizzly, same as always, but it felt different now, warmer somehow. What do you think Lily wants for her birthday? Elena asked. Probably something space-related, or a pet. She's been hinting about a dog. A dog would be nice. You just want a dog. I just want a dog, Elena admitted, laughing. They talked about nothing important, just the small details of their shared life. Lily's upcoming birthday party. The new hire at the cafe. The community garden project Ryan was designing. Ordinary things that felt extraordinary because they were theirs. That night, after dinner and homework and bedtime stories, Ryan stood in the doorway of Lily's room watching her sleep. She was 12 now, growing into herself in ways that made his heart ache with pride. She still had Sarah's smile, but she had her own strength too, her own courage. She's going to be okay, Elena said softly, coming up behind him. Yeah, she is. We all are. Ryan turned, pulled Elena close. Thank you. For what? For being brave enough to walk into Murphy's that morning. For coming back even after I was an ass. For choosing this life with us when you could have had anything. This was always what I wanted. I just didn't know it until I met you. They went to bed, wrapped around each other in the darkness. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, their small corner of the world was quiet and safe and full. Ryan thought about the journey that had brought them here. The grief that nearly destroyed him. The loneliness that almost won. The fear that could have kept them apart. All of it had led to this moment, this life, this family. Love, he'd learned, wasn't about being saved. It was about choosing to stand up when everything told you to stay down. It was about letting someone in even when it terrified you. It was about building something together, piece by piece, day by day, with no guarantees except the ones you made to each other. It was messy and hard and imperfect and real. And it was worth every moment of fear it took to get there. In the end, Ryan realized the smallest act of kindness, a stranger stepping in when everyone else looked away, could change the entire trajectory of your life. Not because it was dramatic or heroic, but because it was human, real, brave in the way that only ordinary courage could be. They'd built their life on that foundation, on choosing each other every day, on doing the hard work of being vulnerable and honest and present, on understanding that equal circumstances mattered less than equal effort. The cafe thrived, Ryan's architectural firm grew, Lily flourished, and through it all, they showed up for each other, in the big moments and the small ones, on the good days and the impossible ones. That was the real story, Not the fairy tale of a billionaire and a construction worker falling in love, but the truth of two broken people finding each other and choosing every single day to be brave enough to build something real. 3 years later, they opened a second Murphy's Place, then a third. Each one designed by Ryan, each one a community space where people could come and just be themselves, where kindness mattered more than profit and connection trumped transaction. Elena ran them with the same fierce intelligence she'd brought to corporate life, but with joy instead of obligation. Ryan split his time between the cafes and his architectural work, designing spaces that prioritized humanity. Lily, now 15 and impossibly wise, talked about studying social work and helping people the way her parents had helped each other. One morning, sitting in the original Murphy's Place with the family they'd built around them, Ryan caught Elena's eye across the room. She smiled, that same smile that had terrified him once upon a time because it meant feeling something again. He smiled back, no longer afraid. This was the life they'd chosen. Imperfect, complicated, full of ordinary magic, built on the foundation of a single moment when Ryan Carter decided to stand up instead of look away. When Elena Vaughn decided to be herself instead of her title. When Lily decided to trust again. Love wasn't about equal circumstances. It was about equal courage. And they'd been brave enough to choose it.